Hello, and welcome
to Sort of the Story.
I'm Janey.
And I'm Max.
And this is this podcast where we tell each other stories, like fairy tales and folk tales and mythologies and anything else we want to talk about.
And also, yous are here.
Oh, welcome, yous guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys. Indeed. This podcast is not for children, so yous guys excludes yous children.
Yeah.
So if you're the children, get out.
Get on out of here.
Get.
Y'all children's.
This isn't for you. And also today I would say is especially not for you. Do you want to tell them why?
Yeah. Janey and I are doing an H.P. Lovecraft episode today.
Guys, it's a surprise theme.
Surprise theme.
And the theme is H.P. Lovecraft.
Last week, I was talking to Janey and I was like, it reminds me of my favorite Lovecraft short story, which is actually so cool. And Janey was like, you should tell it on the podcast. And I was like, oh my God, we should tell him on the podcast. And she was like, let's do an H.P. Lovecraft thing. Isn't he really into like something about like, because 125 is coming up. You were like, isn't he something about 125? And I was like, well, I don't know. And so I Googled H.P. Lovecraft 125 and the number 5 comes up in a lot of the stories. So I was like, oh, 5 times 5 times 5. Perfect. Great.
That is not how I remember it.
Okay.
All that day I'd been thinking, I've never read a Lovecraft. And I said, I've never read a Lovecraft. And Max was like, I have a favorite and it's just crazy. And I was like, we should do a themed episode. And you said, cool. And I was like, what's an episode coming up that would make sense for that? And then I made you rack your brain for any symbolism in the next like 10 episodes. And you were like, 5? And I was like, that's perfect.
That was 100% you, because I was like, I don't think you had a number. I don't think that's real.
Fortuitous.
More like 5-tuitous.
5-tuitous.
Anyways, here we are. It's 125, and neither of us can remember how we got here, and that's not Lovecraftian at all.
And I have a weirder thing to tell you.
What is it?
Okay, actually, I'll just tell you right now, because I am going to do an intro of H.P. Lovecraft before I tell my story, and then Max is going to tell her story. That's how we do this podcast.
And before that, we are going to do a regular intro also about the Patreon at some point.
So before I drop this sweet, sweet fun fact bomb, Max, quickly tell them how they can join the Patreon so that we could just get started, because I'm excited about this.
If you like what we do, you can join us on Patreon for $3 a month. You get access to the Discord, which includes access to the book club. You can hang out with us and then send us messages, whatever you want to do. It's totally fine. For $7 a month, you get access to a bonus episode as well as access to the Discord. That's a full-length bonus episode that we release every month. So join us at the link below, and we'd love to see you.
We are not responsible for any injuries. You're not allowed to sue us. And all of our cosmetics are non-cosmetic. So, Max, side effects include peeing yourself until you die.
What?
What do you mean? What problems? Yeah, guys, join us on the Patreon. It's very fun. The bonus episodes are lit, as the kids say. Yeah, the kids that aren't allowed on our bonus episodes.
So litty that you will split your kitty.
Guys, I found out what her name was. Her name is Lisa Gilroy. Search for her. Find her. And that's all you get. Max.
Janey.
H.P. Lovecraft was born on August 20th, 1890. He died on August
11th, 1890.
March 15th, 1937. Today, as we are recording, it is the night of March 14th. Isn't that so wild? I know that doesn't seem wild probably to a lot of people. You're like, you're not even on the day. But to me, that feels very spooky.
Pretty spooky.
It's pretty spooky. There are 365 days in a year. So we just happened to land on the night, like the eve of his death.
Pretty crazy.
Okay, so because this is going to be a little bit of a long episode, but a very fun and spooky episode, I say we just get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for 1 second and then come back and tell you all about who the guy was.
I'm excited to hear from you in 1 second.
Okay, bye. Okay, Max.
Okay, Janey.
What do you think HP stands for?
Harry Potter.
It's Harry Potter Lovecraft. It's Hewlett-Packard Lovecraft.
Hit points.
There we go. So take your pick. It's either Harry Potter Lovecraft. Oh my God, these names are going to show up on the Discord.
Hit points Lovecraft.
Hit points Lovecraft. That's going to be redacted. Yep. Harry Potter Lovecraft and Hewlett-Packard Lovecraft. Well, that's pretty good.
Thanks.
Podcast.
What do you think H.P. Lovecraft stands for?
Howard Phillips Lovecraft. That's his name.
Wow, that was your first guess?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. He was born in Providence, Rhode Island.
No, but what did you think his name was before you looked it up?
I did not think it was anything. I thought he had made up the initials H.P. Lovecraft for some reason.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd never thought of him as having a real name, so I did never.
Harpo Lovecraft.
Harpo. Hard penis Lovecraft.
Hard poops Lovecraft.
Horror poops Lovecraft. Guys, what do you think HP stands for? Email us at sortofthestory@gmail.com. Okay. He was born in Providence, Rhode Island. All of his stories have a very, most of his stories have a very New England feel, and that's where he was born and raised. His father was a traveling salesman who had a nervous breakdown in a hotel room in 1893 and was institutionalized for 5 years before dying in 1898.
That's really interesting because a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stories are about someone going crazy and then dying.
Including mine.
Hey.
H.P. Lovecraft was informed as a child that his father had been paralyzed and comatose during the entire time he was in the hospital. I guess that was like a kindness to him. They're like, no, he's not even really there. He's just in a coma. But that's not true at all.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's just something they told young H.P. Lovecraft, which I'm like, you maybe don't even have to tell him that. He's only 3 when his dad went in. You don't have to tell him.
Huey doesn't need to know about that.
You know what? Little Harry Potter doesn't need to know anything about his past. Let his aunt and uncle raise him in peace. I'm a Dursley apologist. It's widely believed that his dad died of paresis, which is a form of neurosyphilis.
Ooh.
And I really think that's the case because his mom dies of a similar thing later on down the road.
Ooh.
With his father dead, Lovecraft was raised by his mother, his 2 aunts who he became very close with, and his very affluent grandfather, Whipple Van Buren Phillips.
My story has a guy named Whipple in it.
That's his grandfather.
Oh my God.
It's such a weird name.
Yeah.
The best part, so I left a lot of this in there. I was like, I'm just going to do a page of here's
Facts.
the things.
Yeah.
Except that after going into his stories a little bit, the best part of going through his past is seeing how much of his past he put into his stories. Mm-hmm. So I really couldn't leave out a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Because it's all interesting when you read his work. H.P. Lovecraft was super smart. He learned how to read by the age of 3. So when he moved in with his grandfather was immediately just like, no, we're reading together all the time. He loved his grandpa, and he was the one who spent a lot of time with him. He was reciting poetry around this time too. And when he was 6 or 7, he started writing his own stories, which to me, I was like, yeah, that's what 6 and 7-year-olds do. You sit down and today I went chick-a-crit. I had so much makeup on my face.
Oh, we have to put that in the playlist.
Yeah, we do. Guys, we're going to put a video. Just click the link. But that's not the case. He was writing full short stories and 88 stanza poems and stuff.
Okay, but you've heard my poetry. I'm just saying.
That's true. He really loved Arabian Nights when he was little. In fact, Arabian Nights is what inspired him to create the pseudonym Abdul al-Hazred. That is the name that he used later for the author of the Necronomicon.
Hey.
Yeah, and he came up with it when he was 7 years old.
That's cute.
After reading Arabian Nights. He moved from Arabian Nights to an obsession with Greek mythology, and his earliest surviving work is the poem of Ulysses, which he wrote in 1897 when he was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It is a paraphrase of the Odyssey. So he read all of the Odyssey and he paraphrased it, which, guys, the Odyssey is hard. It is fucking tough.
It's also long.
It's so long. It's not as bad as the Iliad, which is 90% ship names, but it's really, really intensely long. He wrote 88 lines of rhyming verse. I'm going to give you the first bit and then the last bit just to see how he was writing at 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The night was dark, O readers hark, and see Ulysses fleet. From trumpet's sound back homeward bound, he hopes his spouse to greet. Long he hath fought, put Troy to naught, and leveled down its walls. So that's the first little part, introducing Ulysses and the War of Troy,
Mm-hmm.
And it ends with this one. His swineherd first, then his old nurse, do recognize him well. Then does he see Penelope, with whom in peace he'll dwell, until black death doth stop his breath and take him from the earth. He'll ne'er roam far from Ithaca, the island of his birth. But a 7-year-old wrote that. It's
pretty damn
88
good.
lines, and it's really sums up the Odyssey kind of well.
Not terrible.
Yeah. Lovecraft also had discovered weird fiction at this point. Like, the age of 6 was when he was like, this is weird and I like it. And he wrote a short story called The Noble Eavesdropper, which I tried really hard to find because that's considered his first story, The Noble Eavesdropper, but it's nowhere. And I'm like, hey, Lovecraft, what are you hiding? Let us read it. Drop them verse.
Couple things, probably.
Yeah, probably a little. His grandfather, Whipple Van Buren, really fostered his obsession by telling him weird stories at night, just like making up very strange tales in the Gothic style. And does it remind you of your grandfather?
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me of your grandfather too. Max's grandfather used to make up stories for her.
Most of them were action adventures, though.
I mean, yeah,
Or
which is
heists.
why you are now a world-renowned action-adventure heist novelist.
So true.
Yeah. Max is Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher's a character, Janey.
Yeah, that's Max. He has a quote that I found on Wikipedia that said that his grandfather's tales were, quote, original weird tales of winged horrors and deep, low moaning sounds. So his grandfather was giving him some fucked up tales, and he was like, yes.
His grandfather was like,
Whipple Van Buren just making the scary. His grandmother died when he was about 5.5. The death, along with all the black mourning clothes his aunts were wearing around that time, and also the illustrations of Gustave Doré, which...
hey! Oh my god.
Yeah.
That kid had no chance.
No, he didn't. So he was super fucking terrified. He's like 5.5 and everything around him is so scary. And he began to have nightmares about something he called night gaunts. It said,
that's a band.
So it's inspired by H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, I love that.
These creatures would, quote, whirl me through space at a sickening rate of speed, the while fretting and impelling me with their detestable tridents. So it's no surprise later on, night gaunts made their way into his stories quite a bit.
Night Gaunts is a really cool folk punk band, and they did a split record with Days and Days, which is one of my favorite folk punk bands, and they called it Nights and Days.
Fun! That's very fun. Lovecraft was always sick as a kid, and he was kind of sheltered. He didn't go to school regularly, but he soaked up a ton of information on his own just from reading. So remember this from my story, because I found something out while researching this. Mm-hmm. By the time he was 8, he had discovered science pretty much independently. He first discovered chemistry and like just blew through all these texts on chemistry and like started doing his own experiments and stuff. And then later he discovered astronomy, and that really fucking stuck with him. He became obsessed with the cosmos. Whipple Van Buren. I think that name is ridiculous, and you haven't laughed once.
Oh, that's because I've been encountering it all day from the story that I'm reading.
I guess that's fair.
The character in my story is named Elihu Whipple. So
Elihu Whipple.
Elihu Whipple.
Whipple? Okay, so Whipple died in 1904 when he was 14 years old. Lovecraft, not Whipple. He was an old man. Of a stroke. It was like his business started to fail and he lost a bunch of money, and then he had a stroke at the age of 70. And Lovecraft and his mother were plunged into financial ruin. They were forced to move out of their beautiful Victorian home and then into like cramped housing elsewhere. And the shock of the move and the absolute devastation of his grandfather dying and now suddenly not having any of the like securities and stuff he had once had, it kind of like plunged him into a deep depression. And around this time he started like contemplating suicide a bunch. Like he would go on these long bike rides and just like ride past this like huge lake and just look at it and be like, I could just go in all the time. But it said that what saved him was the prospect of learning.
Hey,
there's still more to learn. As he pushes his glasses up his nose.
Listen, that's me as fuck.
I would succumb to the horrors, but there's more to read. Max Higgins.
What if I learned to do a little doodle instead?
What if? I haven't tried wood turning yet. Could be the thing that fixes me.
That's me.
That's you.
And that's me.
Oh.
Yike. Not a great time to find out that you have something in common with H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, you really don't want to find that out. But if you're going to find it out, you might as well find it out here, not later. He ended up having some sort of unexplained illness just before his high school graduation in 1908, and that caused him to drop out.
He was like, I'm sick. I don't want to go to graduation.
What he described it as was, I was and am prey to intense headaches, insomnia, and general nervous weakness, which prevents my continuous application to anything. I almost said to my thing. It's like, oh no.
Sometimes it's hard to just do my thing.
You know?
Sometimes this never happens to anyone else, but sometimes I'm trying to do my thing and I just can't.
Well, and so he's talking about he's like, I'm nervous all the time. I have these intense headaches. I can't sleep. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go to school. And I'm like, yeah, this all seems like anxiety and depression. Mm-hmm. But later, I didn't write this down because I was like, this is long, but I'm going to tell it here. Later, his classmates started to talk because people would interview people who knew him. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, he had these weird tics and they would just come on suddenly. It was like suddenly he would just jerk for no reason. For example, he would be sitting there quietly in class and all of a sudden he would just throw his body up and be standing and look a little bit shocked and then sit back down. And later on, historians and psychologists and stuff kind of went back and they're like, he could have had this disease. It was called chorea minor, which is an autoimmune disease that children especially can get if they've been sick in the past, which he was always a sick kid and he was prone to infections. Mm-hmm. And they said that it could have been that. And that is an autoimmune disease that is characterized by involuntary jerking sometimes. Max, you didn't laugh at Whiffle. You're not allowed to laugh at involuntary jerking.
I am, and I did, and I will.
Anyway, that's just people trying to diagnose somebody from the past. But yeah, it's interesting. People do have theories that he could have actually been dealing with other things on top of anxiety and depression. You know?
Those could be tracked back to any number of things. It could be an inner ear thing.
It could be ADHD.
It could be, could be epilepsy, schizophrenia, anything.
Literally anything. So this was pointless. You're welcome.
We're doctors.
Around this,
I diagnose H.P. Lovecraft with being dead.
Oh, you know what? You're not a professional. You can't say he's dead. Around this time, he became a virtual hermit after he didn't...
That's my new username.
Virtual hermit. But basically, he didn't graduate high school, which as somebody who really, really loved education and was always trying to learn, that bummed him out. He had always said he was going to go to Brown University. When he didn't graduate, he didn't get into Brown University, obviously, and he just was a complete wreck over it. So he stopped going outside, basically, or doing anything. He only studied astronomy and he wrote poetry. That's all he wanted to do, which, who was paying the bills?
But also, big 18-year-old vibes.
It is. However, around this time, he was kind of thrust into what people described as an unhealthy relationship with his mother. They were just always in the house together, and they described it as her having a love-hate relationship with her son. And I couldn't find a lot more on that, but yeah.
Sounds pretty gross.
Sounds pretty fucking awful. He said, his own words were my mom never recovered after my dad died, and then she just kept getting worse and worse. So that's also something he was dealing with. Sorry, they called it a pathological love-hate relationship.
Oh boy.
He ended his hermit-like ways in a weird way because of pulp magazines. Because he was a troll. One day he was reading a love story by Fred Jackson in The Argosy, and he was so annoyed by how insipid this love story was that he wrote a mean letter completely in verse for some reason. And
he was like, let me tell you a thing or two about the craft of love.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
He told this author he could suck it.
That's in there. This was published in the Argosy, and that made Fred Jackson heads real mad. There was a bunch of Fred Jackson fans out there that were like, go fuck yourself. Who are you? How dare you say that? And so they all started to write letters to the magazine attacking H.P. Lovecraft for having a bad take. And he responded with several more letters back to the haters, always in verse. This went on for a while, and eventually he was noticed by the president of the United Amateur Press Association, UAPA.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say
the president of the United States of America.
He finally noticed.
And he said, you should be my Secretary of War. He was noticed by the president of the United States. No. notice by the president of the United Amateur Press Association, the UAPA, WAPA, a group of amateur writers who published their own magazines. And so he ended up making his own magazine, publishing 13 issues. It was called The Conservative, and he also wrote like poems and essays to other journals. And this gave his life purpose, and it saved him from a, quote, life of vegetation. It just made him want to go outside again.
Oh, not like he just got really into trees or anything.
Nope. So yeah, that's kind of how he started to get back into writing more and more. And he was making friends. He started writing weird fiction again. And the people at the WAPA were like, hey, you should write more of that weird shit. We like it. So he had this like growing network of friends and associates who were always encouraging him. And he was just like coming into his own. And he was becoming, quote, one of the greatest and most prolific letter writers of the century. And was just like starting to succeed.
Nice.
Then his mother had a mental breakdown,
Sure.
a little mentee bee, just like his father, in 1919. She was admitted to Butler Hospital, where she spent the next 2 years living until 1921, when she died during gallbladder surgery. Yeah, and he was like so sad about that. But then like a couple weeks later, he met his wife, so it's fine.
It's really good that he didn't go very long without a woman taking care of him in his life.
It is.
God forbid that he was ever alone or had to do anything for himself.
You're really gonna not like the next couple parts.
Am I gonna not like it because I'm right, or am I gonna not like it because I'm wrong?
No, I think you're right.
Okay.
But his wife's name was Sonia Haft-Green. She was, quote, a Russian Jew. I don't know why, but seeing that she was just described as a Russian Jew felt bad.
That feels bad.
So I put it in quotation marks. Because,
yeah.
I didn't like the way that was phrased. She owned a successful hat shop on Fifth Avenue in New York City. And they met at a writing conference for the WAPA.
A haberdashery.
She had a haberdashery. Yeah. They got married, but almost immediately they started having problems. Her business was failing. He had to turn down a really good writing job for Weird Tales magazine because it would have meant having to move to Chicago. And eventually, quote, Sonia's health gave way, forcing her to spend time in a New Jersey sanitarium. And I wrote, sure, HP.
Okay.
She, on her own volition, really, she was forced to spend some time to take a little break. That's it. For no other reason other than she was the problem. It just felt like she was a successful businesswoman who was like living a full life before she met him. And then she got married to him, and very soon after she was committed for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. After her business started failing and she stopped making as much money to support him. That's what it feels like. I wasn't super... my eyebrow is raised to the fucking moon for that one. He was starting to hate New York City as well. He wanted to move. He was depressed. He said it was isolated and overcrowded, and he's right. His fiction turned from the nostalgic, which at this point he had written The Shunned House in 1924, and it was set in Providence, which is where, you know, he was from, Rhode Island. And now it was bleak and misanthropic. And basically all of his stories, like the horror at Red Rock,
That's the porn parody.
the horror at Red Hook and he were both about how much he hated New York City. So like you could see in his writing that he was fucking unhappy. So he moved back to Providence without Sonia. Without her. The two talked about her moving to Providence to start a business, but his aunts barred her from coming. They said it would be shameful for him to be married to a tradeswoman. So they got a divorce.
What?
Yeah. She also had a couple businesses. Like, Sonia was fucking awesome. The last 2 or 3 years of his life were really hard. One of his aunts died, and he was very close to his aunts. He was very close to his family in general. It seems like every person was somebody that he really cared about. So one of his aunts died. He moved into another house with his remaining aunt, which I, again, think is weird. I guess it might not be, but it's weird to me.
It seems weird.
This story gives real creep Bates Motel vibes. His stories were getting longer and more complex, and so they were harder to sell. Nobody was buying them. So he was having to make money by ghostwriting and editing. He never had a full book of his stories published in his lifetime, and so he kind of like had that, you know, artist mentality of being like, maybe my work's not actually good.
Yeah.
And eventually he died from stomach cancer on March 15th, 1937, at 46 years old. Very young when he died. Okay, so that's the
facts of life.
Did you want to really quickly talk about the cool things he did before I go into the shitty things so we can end on those?
Yeah.
Okay.
So during this period of time when he was getting really into like a writer's community, he made friends with a couple of moderately prolific authors of the time, just a bunch of people who were kind of in the same vein as he was. And they created something that has recently been titled the Lovecraft Circle, where it was just a bunch of authors and writers who were all hanging out and they were all kind of talking and sharing ideas. Something that I think is very cool about H.P. Lovecraft, and I couldn't find any sources specifically saying this, but this is alluded to a lot, is that he quote unquote created the Cthulhu mythos, right? Which we can talk more about, but I think a lot of people are kind of relatively familiar with it.
You at least have an image in your head when you hear the word Cthulhu.
Yeah, so he created this whole like dark ancient gods mythos that a lot of his stories are set in, and a lot of the stories introduce like new figures within these realms and so on. Within the Lovecraft Circle, he and the other authors were kind of creating a conglomeration of universes where like one of the guys who I think was like the original writer of Conan the Barbarian, I think they would like share a lot of things. So like you can see in the like 1920s, 30s Conan comics, like references to Cthulhu, but it's spelled different and stuff like that, which is very cool. But a lot of the stuff that he did as an author, he specifically was like, I am creating a world that I want other people to create in. So he was very comfortable with the idea of other people like taking the stories from the Cthulhu mythos and making them the backdrop for other stories, which I think is really cool.
That is cool.
It's a really cool thing in terms of like intellectual property, where he was actually like, he was taking like inspiration very directly from his contemporaries, and his contemporaries, he was like very much encouraging them to take inspiration from him. He did a lot of stuff of being like, hey, like, it would be dumb if I was the only one like writing about this. I hope other people write about this and give it their own spin. And I think that's very cool.
It really does. It opened the door for the world that we have now of like contemporary fan fiction, you know?
Yeah.
Of why people are so against suing fan fiction authors and stuff like that. Like even like 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight, like there was a lot of talk about lawsuits, but I mean, if you do that, you start having to erase a bunch of historical pieces that were fan fiction. And that kind of goes right back to H.P. Lovecraft of like setting up that encouragement of like, you can absolutely write stories about my stories.
Yeah, it goes back there and further. But I just think it's really cool to put all this work into creating a world and then to be like, no, I created it for all of it. Like, I admire other authors. I want them to write in my world. I like know that other people have cool ideas about this. I want them to write in my world. It's a very weirdly unique for a person who is otherwise unique. Very backwards in a lot of ways. I think it is a very unique opinion to hold that I think is very cool in a lot of ways.
I agree.
Of saying like, yes, this is especially because, you know, during his lifetime, he wasn't the most successful author.
Yeah, he wasn't super wealthy.
Yeah, he wasn't covetous of his stories though. Yeah. He believed very much in like, I want this to be a community and like we all tell stories together, which I think is very cool.
I think that's awesome.
That's the one cool thing.
That's the one cool thing that you can take away from this. And it genuinely is really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's an important note, though, and I do think that this is important to end on with this introduction, just so you know, moving forward, that we know.
Yes.
H.P. Lovecraft was racist as hell.
So racist.
Even for his time, he was unacceptably racist. His early political views were conservative and traditionalist. After the Great Depression, he became more socialist, but he was still elitist and aristocratic. Ugh. So, like, he went through the Great Depression and was like, actually, I should have more money. But maybe only the rich should have more money. It's like, well, that's not anything.
That's less socialism and more...
I want more money. Selfish.
Yeah.
Selfishism. And even though his wife was Jewish, he was overtly anti-Semitic. And he wrote a lot about how even though Hitler was nuts and his vision was, quote, romantic and immature, he was a very likable guy. So that's just something he thought about Hitler, which sounds familiar. He also wrote a poem in 1912 called On the Creation of the N-Word.
Oh, good.
He claimed that the gods, quote, having just designed man and beast, created blacks in semi-human form to populate the space in between.
Ugh.
Yeah, listen, and that's not the worst thing he has said, specifically about black people, but it is a pretty good indication that it's going to get worse from there. So like, so Boohoo, he died of stomach cancer. He was also a piece of shit.
Yeah. There are also a lot of really cool analyses, and I'm sure that you have a couple things that you're going to talk about as well, but there are a lot of cool things talking about H.P. Lovecraft's idea of horror and the idea of like horror that is like greater than your conception, like something that is so impossibly terrifying that like your brain just balks at the idea of perceiving it and everything. But also to him as a person, the scariest thing in the entire world was just any black person.
Any black person. Very scary.
Yeah, he was a little bitch.
He was a little bitch.
A racist and a piece of shit.
Yes.
Just to be super clear.
Yes. However, in the world today, in the year of our Lord, 2024, it seems like Black writers and creators specifically are taking over the Lovecraftian mythologies quite a bit, and they're completely inverting the narratives to illustrate the experience of being a marginalized person, because even though he was so racist and so incredibly afraid of anyone who was different than him and had a lot to fucking say about how he was just better than all of these people,
but also so oppressed.
But his narratives really do fit with people who are struggling just to survive in a world that is hostile towards them. And it's a really cool thing to watch, specifically Black creators be like, you're going to hate this, but it certainly does speak to me. So this can be seen in the absolutely phenomenal show Lovecraft Country, which is off the air now, and the main actor is a piece of shit as well. But you know what? What man hasn't let us down today? So there's also a novella called The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Laval. I linked both of these in the show notes. They're fantastic. Lovecraft Country, just like all of Lovecraft's work, is a little bit hopeless. So I know people who were like, I like horror, but that got me down and I had to stop watching. So just keep that in mind.
It also, it does like jump genres quite a bit.
It does. And it's so beautiful, and it's so well acted and directed, and everything about it is perfect, but you have to be in the right headspace for that.
Yeah, you definitely have to be ready to experience the show and not necessarily like watch the show for, the things that happen in it. Exactly.
So this is talked about in detail in one of my favorite podcasts, Imaginary Worlds, episode 151, Inverting Lovecraft. It's fascinating and it's beautiful, and it gets so many different people to talk about so many different perspectives, but it's very specific about Black voices in the Lovecraftian universe, like taking the Lovecraftian universe and showing a different side of it, but also a more appropriate side to today. So like, it's fantastic. I would love it if more people would go listen. So as we tell these stories today, know that I personally love the story I'm telling. And Max, I think you personally love the story you're telling. It's the one I'm telling, because I can't speak for Max because I don't know the story she's going to tell me, but mine is deliciously horrifying. It's eerie. It's fascinating. It hits you right in I wrote, the autumn in New England / something wicked this way comes feelies. That's the vibes.
Oh, autumn in.
The autumn in New England.
I was like, the autumn in New England.
What? It hits you in the autumn in New England / something wicked this way comes feelies. But there are a ton of very real, very serious criticisms that we should be acknowledging as we read. And that's just like the universal we. Don't read things blindly.
Don't be uncritical.
Yeah.
Just, you can like something and know what is wrong with it and acknowledge that.
Yes, especially this particular writer has a lot to be criticized. And you can enjoy the content while still recognizing when what you are reading is an inherently bad and potentially harmful take. Because the reason why this has to be talked about is because this didn't happen in a vacuum. His specific views were very public, and they had a lot of support, and they were used as talking points for people to hurt entire groups of marginalized people. So no.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a pass on it. It's not a sign of the times when what you did had actual real world consequences.
Yes.
So, rotten hell, I'm glad you died of stomach cancer, but thank you for the scary feels. Okay, on with the show.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, I just talked for so long. I hate it.
You did such a good job, though.
Thank you.
That was a very good and like thoughtful and nuanced.
Every time we do these particular episodes where it's about a specific author, I'm always like, I'm going to do a nice intro, like a nice meaty little intro so everybody gets on board and we're all in the same place. And, but then I go first. So it's just like 2 hours of just me talking. I gotta start to think this through because I love doing the biographies. I like the research.
But you've done 3 biographies that I can think of.
H.P. Lovecraft,
Edgar Allan Poe,
Angela Carter. And
Angela Carter's was so good.
I really like the research
the
part.
truth is that Angela Carter is good and that Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft are bad.
I think that we're all seeing a theme. We all see the pattern,
Listen,
right?
I don't want to say, but like...
Guys, we all see it, right? It's not just us.
Not to make it weird, but...
Happy Women's Month. Okay.
Every month is Women's Month.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell you a creepy story now.
Okay, do it.
Okay, bye. Okay, Max.
Okay, Janey.
For the second time, okay, Max.
Okay, for real this time,
For
Janey.
real. The story I'm going to tell you is H.P. Lovecraft's The Thing on the Doorstep.
Is it shit in a bag?
It's shit in a bag. It's my shit in a bag. I went back in time and
Is it on fire?
Shit in a bag, Tim.
I think it's so funny when you shit in a bag someone.
I'm kind of known for shitting in a bag someone. Okay, so this is how it starts out. Also, the second I read this intro, like the first paragraph, I was like, this is going to be my theme, because it's very reminiscent of the Edgar Allan Poe story I told.
Hell yeah.
Quote, "It is true that I have sent 6 bullets through the head of my best friend, and yet I hope to shew by this statement that I am not his murderer. At first, I shall be called a madman. Okay. Madder than the man I shot in his cell at the Arkham Sanitarium. Later, some of my readers will weigh each statement, correlate it with the known facts, and ask themselves how I could have believed otherwise than as I did after facing the evidence of that horror, that thing on the doorstep." That's just basically the exact opening of The Telltale Heart.
Almost exactly.
I'm not mad, and you'll see that after you hear my tale. Yes, I shot him in the head 6 times, but it wasn't I who murdered him.
I like, this is related and pertinent to H.P. Lovecraft. There's this idea in writing of the passive voice, right? Where it's, rather than saying like, he got bread at the store, it's like, bread was gotten at the store. Yeah. Kind of thing. And a lot of times it's used in journalism to deflect blame from people who are actively doing things. Yes. For example,
woman was raped.
The police. Yeah. Man was shot in altercation with city police officers.
Yes. Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's the passive voice. And the idea of, yes, I was holding the gun that caused 6 bullets to go through his head, but I'm not a murderer, feels very similar.
I pulled the trigger for sure, but am I the one who killed him?
Listen to my
guns
tale. Don't kill people. People don't kill people. I don't know what happened.
Sometimes people just die, all right?
And they're full of bullets. And where did they come from?
Don't yell at me. I'm just a little guy.
And it's my birthday.
You would yell at a little guy on his birthday?
I'm the little birthday boy.
So anyway, basically that's how the story starts.
Sure.
The thing on the doorstep is what set him off, really. This is the story in 6 parts. And I'm going to go through the first couple real fast. Because part 1 is just an account of the narrator, who we don't find his name until later. And I call him the narrator up until I found out what his name was. And then I was like, oh, his name is Dan.
Oh.
So I'm going to call him Dan, but no, in my notes, I call him the narrator quite a bit. Sure. So I'm going to switch back and forth.
Dan is a hilarious name.
Dan is a very funny name. It wasn't me. Dan.
You think Dan would gun?
Look at me. Look at my name tag.
I'm so regular. I'm just Dan.
I'm just Dan. Okay.
You can trust old Dan.
Don't say old Dan. Oh, sorry. I just had a flashback to where the red fern grows.
Oh my god. Why would you do this?
Old Dan and little
You
Anne.
couldn't keep it to yourself.
No. That's the first.
God.
That's the first book that ever made me cry. I read it in my grandmother's house when I was little and just sobbed.
I had to read it for a summer reading project and I threw it in a lake.
Are you
I was
happy?
Like, fuck this book. And I threw it in a lake.
Where the red fern grows made Max litter. Okay.
It was a paperback, so it's fine.
So in part 1, Dan, the narrator, makes friends when he is 16 with a boy who is 8 years younger than him, but very smart. Yeah. I was like, 16 and 8 is not good. This kid is from a super rich family, and he is crazy coddled and very sheltered, and he's always sick, and he grows up really weird. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, it's just H.P. Lovecraft. He's this child.
Yeah.
His name is Edward Derby. Okay, Derby. Edward grows up, and he goes to a college in Arkham, where they both grew up because his parents didn't want him going too far from where he, grew up from them, because they're very protective. And so he goes to Arkham College, and he becomes very interested in the occult library that's there and magic. Like, this particular college has like a kind of renowned dark section of the library. He is a quirky, soft, shy, slightly eccentric young man. The narrator, Dan, moves back home eventually because he's gone off to college, and obviously he's a lot older than him. And he comes back married to move back to his hometown to, like, buy a house and settle down. And he becomes best friends again with Edward Derby as adults. So just setting it up, this is a child with H.P. Lovecraft's personality who grows up to have H.P. Lovecraft's personality.
Sure.
Whenever Edward would visit him, he would knock on the door with 3 knocks, a pause, and then 2. It was a 3-2 rhythm. So, and he did this almost every night. He'd come over to his house as an adult. He'd go, knock, 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 knock. And then he would let himself in, and they would hang out all night, and then he'd go home. So, best friends. Mm-hmm. That's part 1. Simple, sweet. We get the backstory of who this person is. Part 2, Edward eventually goes back to college after a while. So now he's older. He's like in his 30s now, 35 to 36. And he decides to study some more occult shit. When he's about 38, he meets a girl who he falls hard for. Her name is Asenath. And she is described as, I'm going to describe her, and you tell me who you think she is.
Okay.
Dark, smallish, and very good looking, except for over-protuberant eyes, and something in her expression alienated extremely sensitive people.
Eva Green.
I was thinking Kate McCucci.
Oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Asenath is from Innsmouth, and she's terrifying. She's very scary. Edward loves her. She's so spooky. She's little and spooky. She has this terrifying father who was wolfish and described as a dark wizard. Like, people just knew he would come to the college and give guest lectures on occult magic and stuff. But he
like
really,
the taste of human blood and stuff.
Yeah, he really freaked people out. He was said to be able to control the weather, and everyone was scared of him. Likewise, they were very unnerved by his daughter. After he died, she disappeared for a little bit, and then she went to the college he taught at, and she freaked people out with her ability to manipulate the weather as well. But people were like, no, she's a girl. She's probably just good at predicting the weather. So that's something that that's just the difference between how her father was.
It's meteorology, not meteorology.
How do I make that the title? There were rumors from her old school from girls who said that she was a genuine hypnotist. So, like, rumors did precede her. They said, quote, by gazing peculiarly at a fellow student, she would often give the latter a distinct feeling of exchanged personality, as if the subject were placed momentarily in the magician's body and able to stare half across the room at her real body, whose eyes blazed and protruded with an alien expression. So, like, girls at her school would just be, like, fucking doing their work and suddenly be staring at their own body from Asenath's point of view, while their body just, like, looked around with, like, crazy eyes. And then they would suddenly be back in their body like, what just happened to me?
Wild.
So that's the story.
Oh, she's got the spirit zoomies.
She's got the spirit zoomies. This is the story of Asenath, okay? This is where we're coming in at, okay? This kind of soft, shy, but very intelligent young man who's now 38, is a young lad, has fallen in love with a girl who is into weird shit. She's a cool goth girlfriend.
Yeah.
Even though Dan and Edward's dad both hated the idea, Dan hated the idea, Edward's dad hated the idea, Edward was in love, and he decided to marry Asenath pretty soon after they met. The wedding was small, and all it had was Edward's dad, because his mother had died before. It had his dad, Dan and his small family, and then some people that they knew from the school who were like into occult shit. Also, Edward is 38, Asenath is 23. Yep. But they specifically say, but it's okay because Edward actually had a really young face, and also he was like really like cool and chill. He looked younger than he was, and also he kind of acted younger than he was, so it's fine. Yeah, that's how this story describes that. Okay. Part 3. We're about to get into the meat of the story. So just so you know, We know who they are.
That's the skin.
They got married. That's the skin. Let's get underneath the skin.
Let's get that meat.
Let's get that meat. Give me the meat. For the next 2 years, the narrator saw less and less of Edward. He used to see him every night, and then it started going like weeks in between, sometimes months. When they did talk, which was rare now, Edward would avoid certain topics, and he acted cagey whenever the occult was brought up. At first, the narrator and his wife would try to visit and make sure Asenath felt included, because they were like, you're his new wife. We want you to know that, like, we're his friends, but, like, we're your friend too. Like, welcome to the family. But they started to notice that even though Edward really hadn't aged at all, really, over the last 2 years, he just had like a young, like kind of boyish face. Asenath in those 2 years looked like she had aged over a decade.
Oh.
In fact, people now assumed she was the older of the two, even though she was 23 and he was 38 when they got married. Now suddenly she looked real, like she just kept looking older.
I feel like being a 23-year-old married to a 48-year-old man will do that to
38.
Oh, 38.
Sorry, 102-year-old man.
Yeah. He's only 57.
Listen, he is 69 years old. That's cool and hip.
Yeah, he's 78 years young.
That's hot, actually. He's getting his second wind and his second car.
And his second hip.
Yeah. They took a lot of trips together, allegedly to Europe, though Edward hinted at more.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But Edward was like, yeah, we said we went to Europe, but you never knew. It could have been spookier than that. Who knows? Not me.
We went to spooky Europe.
We went to spooky
the
Europe.
secret second Europe under Europe where all the ghouls live.
We went to spooky Europe, USA.
We went to Spooky Island from the Scooby-Doo movie.
Where we were swapped out of our bodies. Also, everyone noticed that Edward was starting to act differently, okay? For one, he had never learned how to drive a car. Like, it was just kind of a thing. He was like, I don't like driving, and that's not something I ever want to do. So he had never learned in his whole life. But suddenly, within their first year of marriage, people would see him just, like, get in... Asenath had this, like, giant car, like, one of those big, like, 1920s, like...
Oh, like the Rolls Royce.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
She had one of those.
Stretch thing.
They constantly saw him getting in this giant car and like maneuvering traffic jams like a pro and just like looking completely calm and comfortable behind the wheel of this giant tank of a car. And they said he always seemed to be starting a journey or coming back from a journey that no one knew about. And he was like, brush off the questions that people asked. And then the story says, oddly, the metamorphosis did not seem altogether pleasing. I was like, you didn't like that? He's a different person who never visits and then suddenly drives a car?
And is an asshole in traffic?
Yeah, you don't like this? People said he looked too much like his wife, or like old Ephraim Waite, who is her father, himself. They were like, why is he starting to look more and more like Ephraim? That's really weird. Especially in those moments where they saw him driving. Or perhaps these moments seemed unnatural because they were so rare. You might see him driving the car, right? So that was something weird that people around town who knew him his whole life clocked as weird. But a few hours later, you would see him sprawled listlessly in the back seat while a chauffeur or like some random mechanic drove the car back home. And it was like, what? Did you just get tired of driving? And like he would look around like he was just like completely just, I don't know how to drive a car. Yes, you do. We just saw you doing it. Also, his facial expressions were changing. His face, quote, actually relaxed into a kind of exaggerated immaturity, save when a trace of a new sadness or understanding would flash across it. So Edward isn't doing so hot. He's having some weird things. He's
having a weird time.
On top of this, he and his wife all but dropped out of their circle of friends at the college. Apparently, they were studying something that freaked all their friends out, and they wanted nothing to do with them. So it was all like hypothetical before, but now she was completely isolating Edward and was like, well, I guess we just don't have friends then. Except for her weird friends, we'll talk about later. In the third year of his marriage, he began to say things like, I'm afraid.
For example.
Or, I have to find a way to save my identity. Or, things have gone too far.
Or, somebody please help. My wife, she's evil.
Dan ignored this.
But Dan, please. I'm in danger, Dan.
I'm not joking. I need actual help.
Dan.
Call the police, Daniel.
Oh no, Daniel was his father.
Oh, I'm sorry. Old Dan. But eventually, Dan remembered that Asenath had a history of hypnotizing girls in her school and kicking their consciousness out of their bodies. And so eventually he was like, hey, Edward, is everything okay? And Edward looked, hey, but you seem bothered. He's He's like drawing SOS in the sand. Edward looked alarmed but grateful and muttered something like, I need to have a serious talk with you later. I have a lot of shit to tell you, okay? Like, I have to tell you this weird story. Because no. And Dan was like, I'm sure he's fine. You know, being married is hard.
What is Dan's wife doing?
Edward's father died soon after, but even though he was upset, he didn't fall apart. People noticed that he had spent less and less time with his father the longer he was married. Like, he was becoming fully isolated from his life and his friends. And Asenath seemed to take up all his attention. And people also were like, he was kind of callous about his dad's death. Like, his dad loved him. Like, after his mom died, his dad took him to Europe to, like, cheer him up and stuff like that. Like, his dad...
And then he took him to spooky Europe.
He didn't take him to spooky Europe. He didn't know the way. And, like, right after he died, they started noticing that he was taking more and more frequent, cheerful, out-of-character drives. And he was, like, whistling and smiling, and people were like, rude. Then Dan's wife heard a strange story from her friend who still hung out with the Derbys on occasion. They didn't have very many, but this one woman was nosy as fuck, and she made sure to keep in the loop. She had gone over to their house just in time to see the car peel out of the driveway, and Edward was behind the wheel, and he just had this, like, gleeful expression on his face. So she knocked on the door, and the ugly maid...
Rude.
I wrote the story so late. Asenath brought with her 3 servants. 2 of them were like an old couple, and one of them was described as a hideously ugly woman who smelled like fish.
A mermaid.
So, a very ugly mermaid is their maid. So, this woman knocked on the door, and the ugly maid answered and told her the 2 were out. She was like, there's no one here. They both went out just now. But as the woman was, like, walking away, she looked back at the house because she was like, that's creepy. I don't know why. I just feel weird. And she saw something odd. Quote, there at one of Edward's library windows, she had glimpsed a hastily withdrawn face, a face whose expression of pain, defeat, and wistful hopelessness was poignant beyond description. It was, incredibly enough in view of its usual domineering cast, Asenath's. Yet the caller had vowed that in that instant the sad, muddled eyes of poor Edward were seen gazing out from it.
Yeah.
Have you figured it out yet?
Yeah, I did. I did pretty early.
What could be happening, though, you know? I guess keep listening to find out more.
Spoilers for the movie Skeleton Key, but this has real Skeleton Key vibes.
I'm so sorry. I think you mean spoilies?
Spoilies for the movie Skeleton Key?
Yeah, it does. After this, Edward visited more and would ramble on and on about things that made the narrator genuinely worry for his sanity. He talked about terrible meetings in lonely places, of cyclopean ruins in the heart of the Maine woods, beneath which vast staircases led down to abysses of nighted secrets, of complex angles that led through invisible walls to other regions of space and time, and of hideous exchanges of personality that permitted explorations in remote and forbidden places, on other worlds, and in different space-time continua.
I really like also that the thing that H.P. Lovecraft is second most afraid of behind Black people.
Yes.
The thing that he's second most afraid of is math.
No.
He's just like, the angles, they don't make sense.
Please.
Non-Euclidean. A number that I can't even imagine.
Right, so on the list so far, it's Black people, Jewish people, all women, math. Yeah, he's got a lot of fears.
Yeah.
But even though these things sounded crazy, Edward would bring receipts. He would tell him the story and be like, also, here's proof. He'd pull out objects with no conceivable geometry.
Okay.
Math.
Just gonna whip out a fucking tesseract, I guess.
Yeah. With baffling textures and incomprehensible colors, Edward told them that they were, quote, from outside.
I will also say, on that list of things that H.P. Lovecraft is afraid of,
Black people, Jewish people, women, math.
Colors.
Colors. Yeah.
Terrified of colors.
Yeah.
Sometimes he just thinks about colors so much and he just gets really fucked up about it. There's so many H.P. Lovecraft stories about him just being like, and then everything turned a color that wasn't a color.
There literally is a story called like The
Color from Space.
The Color from Space
is one of my other favorite H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Yeah.
But there are like a couple of those where he's just like, and then it was purple, but it was.
Please.
You can't even imagine the color because it's not real. And then everyone died.
You know who could imagine that color? Monet. He had like an extra cone in his eye or something like that.
Extra cone?
Yeah. He had like another...
Soft serve?
No. Chocolate, the dipped cones. So all these things he said were from outside, and that Asenath knew how to get them. So he was like, she got these. Isn't this crazy? Help me. I'm scared. He would get very scared suddenly and whisper conspiracy theories about old Ephraim Waite, about whether or not he was really dead, spiritually or physically. He's like, he's still alive, I promise you. Like, there's something going on. It's so weird. I haven't figured it out yet, but like, it keeps getting weirder and scarier and things are happening and you have to help me, Dan. And he's like, okay, you son of a bitch, you get out of here. See you tomorrow.
Same time next week.
For chess. Sometimes Edward would be talking, like, really fervently, and suddenly cut himself off, look terrified, and the narrator would get this eerie sense that Asenath could somehow hear what he was saying, because he would look around and be like, never mind. And then just stop himself and look like, with, like, help me eyes, like he was being kidnapped.
Oh my god.
It became harder and harder for Edward to visit his friend. Asenath didn't want him to. This is the sign of an abusive relationship. And when he would sneak out, saying he was running an errand or something, his brain would suddenly become cloudy and he'd forget what he had left the house to do and end up not visiting who he was going to go out and see and just come home.
Edward would or
Edward?
Okay.
The only time Edward could manage to make the trip was if Asenath was out or, quote, away in her own body, as Edward one time said, which freaked the narrator out, but he didn't ask questions.
Disassociating.
Yeah. But she always found out where he went because the servants watched his every move. Quote, but eventually she thought it inexpedient to do anything drastic. So part 3.
Classic people who are in love and in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, right? Except that they're not. She's abusive.
No, yeah. No. For sure.
But also, yeah, it's fine. Part 3 is all about Asenath is not a good wife.
What?
I know. Part 4. It was August in his 3rd year of marriage when the narrator received a telegram from Maine. He had not seen Edward in 2 months and had heard he was away on business. And Asenath was supposedly with him, but people had noticed somebody moving around behind the attic curtains in their house, and everyone was watching the servants and watching what they were purchasing at the store and stuff to see if they were, like, buying stuff for more than just them. So they were all nosy.
Yeah.
And now,
that's very New England.
It's extremely New England. And now the narrator received a telegram talking about a madman the sheriff had pulled out of the woods in Maine. The man was delirious and screaming for Dan's help. He had managed to scream out 3 things. He literally could not make any other sentences. He screamed his own name, he screamed Dan's name, and Dan's address.
Oh.
That's all, the only information he had.
42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Yeah. How'd you know? So he was in a town called Chesuncook, and it was close to the wildest and least explored forest in Maine, and it took an entire day's drive to make it there. And when he got there, Edward was being held in a cell, and when he saw the narrator, he stood up and immediately grabbed the bars and started to just spew out a monologue. So this is what he said. Part of what he said. Dan, for God's sake, the pit of the Shoggoths, down the 6,000 steps, the abomination of abominations. I never would let her take me. And then I found myself there. Yeah, Shub Nagarath! I'm assuming. The shape rose up from the altar, and there were 500 that howled. The hooded thing bleated, Kamog, Kamog. That was old Ephraim's secret name in the coven. I was there, where she promised she wouldn't take me, a minute before I was locked in the library. And then I was there, where she had gone with my body, in the place of utter blasphemy, the unholy pit where the black realm begins and the watcher guards the gate. I saw a Shoggoth. It changed shape. I can't stand it. I won't stand it. I'll kill her if she ever sends me there again. I'll kill that entity. Her, him, it. I'll kill it. I'll kill it with my own hands.
Oh.
Yeah, he's just saying hi. That's just how he says hi now. It took Dan, this is the time when his name is revealed. I was like,
oh,
Dan.
Oh, it's Dan.
It took Dan an hour to calm Edward down.
I really like the idea that the reveal is him being like, he said 3 things. His own name, your address, and Dan.
And Dan's like, oh.
That's my name.
Oh, thank God. I've been calling myself the narrator, which isn't great for my self-esteem. Okay, so it took Dan an hour to calm Edward down, but eventually he did. Then he left, went into town, got him some clothes, and like redressed him because all his clothes were completely torn up and just like looked really just dirty and awful. And then they drove out of town together. And Dan at this point was like, I'm not gonna take Edward back to his house.
Sure.
Obviously, he and Asenath are having some problems.
Sure.
So I'm gonna take him to my home. I'll take care of him. And then in a little while, when Edward's better, I'll help him get a divorce. And that's his plan. He's like, he doesn't need to be in this marriage anymore. He said, obviously something about this marriage, probably the hallucinations, were making him absolutely lose his shit.
Sure.
Edward had been quiet for the most part during the drive, which again is like an entire day's journey. But as they started to drive through Portland, he began muttering again, suddenly. He spoke about her taking his body from him, putting him in her body, and locking him in the house. But he was saying that she couldn't hold on to him for a long time yet, because sometimes he'd break out and suddenly be in his body in the middle of nowhere in terrifying places. And he would have to figure out how to get home from those places, like all the time. And that was why you would sometimes see him being driven home by like random mechanics and stuff. It was just because he didn't know how to drive.
Oh.
And he would have to find somebody to drive his car home for him. He said he was afraid that one day she'd figure out how to get hold of him for good. She was taking him for longer and longer periods of time. I have a little tantrum at this next line. Just
okay.
So you know. Quote, she wanted to be a man, to be fully human. That was why she got hold of him. I said, fuck you, Lovecraft. I bet you were a disappointment to literally every woman who ever met you, you long-winded, self-important, racist, and sexist son of a bitch.
True.
Oh, I bet you never satisfied a single person.
In any context.
No, your mother fucking hated you. He hated being imprisoned in Asenath's body. It wasn't even fully human. Fuck you. Because her father had tainted their bloodline with something gross from the sea.
Oh, well, it sounds like she might be part...
Yeah. This is where I was like, okay. But...
part slime fish.
She's something. A little bit part slime fish. But specifically, Asenath talks a lot earlier about how she was upset that she was a girl. She was like, oh my God, it's just that girls' minds are so closed off. And I'd be able to do really good magic if I had like a man's mind, for example, which is open and is able to do stuff, because girls are kind of like not great at things.
Or like smart.
I'm very like limited in what I can do because I have such a smooth brain.
A smooth, sexy little bean brain.
I need those manly wrinkles that men get in their brains. Ugh. Quote, yes, he knew about the Innsmouth blood now. There had been traffic with things from the sea. It was horrible. And old Ephraim, he had known the secret. And when he grew old, he did a hideous thing to keep alive. He wanted to live forever. Asenath would succeed. One successful demonstration had taken place already. Dan took the time he was relaying his trauma to look at his old pal. As his friend is like, I'm really scared and all this crazy occult thing's happening and like he's gonna take me for good and like Asenath is so scary and she's not even fully human and girls are so stupid and that's why he wants to be a man. As Edward's spewing this out, Dan looks at him side-eye and goes, whatever he's doing, it's working for him because he looks ripped as hell. Apparently whoever's had his body has been exercising because Edward looks pretty fire for the first time in his life. That's what Dan thinks.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, and more important, Edward began to rave about old Ephraim and how he was managing to live forever. He said that he found it in the Necronomicon, the formula. He said, on and on and on, body to body to body, he means never to die.
Real skeleton key vibes.
He knows how to break the link. It can flicker on even while the body is dead. Remember that. So apparently if he dies, he can still figure out a way to get into a new body. Edward began to rave about old Ephraim and how he was managing to live forever. He said, he found it in the Necronomicon, the formula. I don't dare tell you the page yet, but when I do, you can read and understand. Then you will know what has engulfed me. On and on and on, body to body to body. He means never to die. The life glow. He knows how to break the link. It can flicker on a while, even when the body is dead. And then Edward began to absolutely lose it. Like, he had been quiet up till now, and he started muttering, but now he's just fully screaming full voice and, like, ripping at his hair and his clothes and stuff. So now he's screaming about how Ephraim had created this monstrous child so that he could take over its body. He was like, I did it. But then he'd been so disappointed when she had been a girl. He was like, oh, crap, girls with their smooth brains. That's not good for my experiments.
Oh, gross.
He said, quote, tell me, Daniel Upton, what So we have a full name now.
Oh my God.
Tell me, Daniel Upton, what devilish exchange was perpetrated in the house of horror where that blasphemous monster had his trusting, weak-willed, half-human child at his mercy? Didn't he make it permanent, as she'll do in the end with me? Tell me why that thing that calls itself Asenath writes differently when off guard, so that you can't tell its script from... And then, that thing happened, Max.
Oh.
Derby's voice was rising to a thin treble scream as he raved, when suddenly it was shut off with an almost mechanical click. This had happened before, of course, when he would suddenly stop talking as if Asenath could hear him. But something way worse was happening this time. Edward began to shudder, as if his bones and muscles and organs were readjusting for a new personality altogether. Quote, the figure beside me seemed less like a lifelong friend than like some monstrous intrusion from outer space, some damnable, utterly accursed focus of unknown and malign cosmic forces. And after he finished, like, clicking and shuddering, he got really straight and then suddenly grabbed the steering wheel and physically forced Dan to switch seats with him while driving. And now it was dark, and Dan was, like, in the passenger seat, like, completely bewildered and, like, thrown off guard, and he couldn't really see Edward's face, but he could see that his eyes were blaring in a way he had never seen them, like, the lights would flash, and it was just, like, off, and he was suddenly so calm and so different now, and from this angle, Dan was like, oh, I get what they say now when they say that he sometimes looks like Asenath, or, like, old Ephraim, like, he has, like, a wolfish look on his face as he's driving, and he's completely straight, he's not shaking, he's not even breathing hard. He's just driving now. And then he didn't speak for a long time, but suddenly, when he did speak, he sounded like a different person. His voice was low and calm and more serious than he'd ever sounded in real life. This felt evil to Dan. And he said, quote, I hope you'll forget my attack back there, Upton.
Upton?
That's his name. His name is Daniel Upton. We found that out right before he calls him Upton. I guess we needed a precursor.
Yeah, fair.
You know what my nerves are, and I guess you can excuse such things. I'm enormously grateful, of course, for this lift home, and you must forget, too, any crazy things I may have been saying about my wife, and about things in general. He blamed his bizarre attitude on the hard trip he'd taken to explore the woods. He was like, I've been doing crazy research, I was trying to find something. He's like, just, you know what, I think I need a rest. So don't expect to see me for maybe 2 months. Yeah, I'm going to disappear for 2 months, Daniel. And it's fine. I'm fine. Daniel. They drove the rest of the way in a tense silence until they made it to Edward and Asenath's house. Like, Daniel the whole time is like, oh my God, is he going to take me somewhere? Like, am I safe? At this point, he's like, oh my God, he's not going to let me out of this car. But Edward just drove to his house, and then he got out of the car. He peered back in and said, thank you for the ride, Daniel. And then he went inside. Dan was terrified and fairly relieved that Edward wouldn't call for a while.
Dan's a bad friend. You are a bad friend, says Janey's notes.
I agree. Dan's a bad friend. This is the worst friend I've ever read about. People began to hear Asenath's voice wailing and sobbing in the house after this. People would hear it and then hear it get choked out as if by force. And they talked about calling the police. They were like, maybe we should call somebody about that. But Asenath herself came outside and chatted in a friendly manner with the neighbors. And she was like, guys, I'm so sorry if you're hearing something crazy. We have a guest from Boston who's crazy. They're having a nervous breakdown inside, and so you're going to be hearing that for a while. And since Asenath herself was the one that was telling everyone she was fine, they were like, okay, so I guess we don't have to call the police, even though they never saw that Boston guest. But they were like, she was the one that we thought was in trouble, and she's not. She's fine. But
so surely nothing weird's going on.
Yeah. But every once in a while, the sobs sounded like they were coming from a man. So just, I know, it's so sad. Then one night, Dan heard the familiar 3-2 knock on the door, and Edward was there with all his familiar nervous energy. He told Dan that Asenath had gone. He had confronted her about not preying on him anymore, and he was like, I also used certain occult practices. I didn't tell you about them before, but I've been learning, and I had to get rid of her, so I kind of like fought magic with magic, and I won. So she packed up her bags and she left. So that's good, right? Pretty good? He said he had paid off her terrible servants and hadn't liked that as they walked away, they had left. So they made him uneasy, but they were out of his life. It's fine. He told Dan that he was going to move back into his dad's house and he was going to get his old servants back. And then he said, I had to save myself. I had to, Dan. She'd have got me for good at Hollowmass. They hold a Sabbath up there beyond Chessencook, and the sacrifice would have clinched things. So he's like, I just had to do it before Hollowmass. There was going to be a big thing, and then she would have taken my body forever. So, like, I had to do what I did, which, again, is fighting magic with magic and then asking her nicely to leave. And then she said, okay, and now she's in Boston. So, it's fine. He told him he was afraid that she would have taken his body for good and killed her ex-body with him in it. All this time, old Ephraim had been the one in Asenath's body, so Dan's now just hearing the story. He had kicked her out of her half-human form and then poisoned that body as soon as he was inside. But he hadn't wanted a woman's body. She had simply been the only one with a strong mind but a weak will, until he had found Edward, who was weak-willed, had a great mind, but also was
rockin' abs.
hot as hell, had potential. So that night, Edward stayed the night at Dan's house, and then he started his move. They saw each other a lot in the next few weeks. They started, talking about the house renovations. They were avoiding serious conversations. But Dan was like, I don't know, like, you seem like you're on the up and up, but I heard from somebody in town that you were paying monthly checks to those weird servants, and that's not great. Are you being blackmailed? But, like, Edward didn't want to talk about it. And then, even though the Derby house was eventually ready to be moved into, and he could finally leave that house of horrors that he had been trapped in, Edward started to put off moving. He was terrified of this house, but he acted like he was a slave to it. He's like, I can't leave it yet. I just can't leave yet. It's fine. So he's acting weird.
Is he?
No, he's fine. Part 5. It was about Christmas, and Dan was...
Or Hallowmas.
It was about Christmas, and Dan was telling Edward he wanted to take him to Europe in the summer to give him a vacation and hopefully reset his brain. He's like, not the spooky Europe either, the nice Europe. When suddenly Edward jumped out of his chair and started to shriek, my brain! My brain! God, Dan, it's tugging from beyond, knocking, clawing, that she-devil. Even now, Ephraim, Kamag, the pit and the shoggoths. Yeah, Shub Nagurith, the goat with 1,000 young. So... not doing well. Edward was screaming about Ephraim trying to get back in and how he couldn't go. Then he slumped forward and just fell asleep at the table. Just like snoring and everything. And Dan was like, should I call a doctor? No.
Or a priest?
He said, no, they'll call him crazy, and that would be deeply uncool. So instead, he put a pillow under his head at the dining table, and when Edward woke up around midnight, Dan took him to the guest room. But he was gone before dawn broke, and we went back to his house, and he started to pace the floors there, which Dan found out by calling his butler. The butler was like, hey, he's acting fucking weird. Actually, now that you mention it, he's having, like, seizures all night long and, like, screaming and pacing. Dan visited him every day after this, but he was getting worse and worse. He's always ranting and screaming and tugging at his hair. And the butler was like, I'm afraid he's going to hurt himself. Like, at this point, he's starting to cause physical harm to himself.
How is the butler a better friend than Dan?
So finally, Dan's like, maybe I should call a specialist to come check it out. And he was taken struggling to Arkham Sanitarium. Finally. Well, I guess not finally, because I want to say to go get help, but also, I mean, back then they weren't great at helping people.
Yeah, that's fair.
Whenever Dan would visit him, he would want to cry from how Edward would scream for his help, and he would cry about Ephraim getting him, and, like, Edward's whole personality was just gone now. Meanwhile, Dan, who's his legal guardian right now, like, he got, like, conservatorship, basically, because Edward doesn't have any family, he moved all of his stuff and his servants to the Derby mansion, and he was like, let's just set up the home for when he's ready to move back. This one's already going to be done. But then he was like, I could sell this other house. I legally can sell his old house, which is causing all this trauma, except that I don't know if he would want it sold, so maybe I just leave it as it is. He paid a maid to go in and, like, dust the main rooms once a week, and that was basically it. He was like, I won't get rid of it right now. Then one day, the hospital called and was like, good news. Edward's fine. He stopped his ranting and raving, his blood pressure is back to normal, and he's talking, like, totally fine. They're like, his memory isn't great. He's, like, doesn't remember certain things, I guess. But his attitude and his demeanor has stabilized. He's probably ready to be released soon. And so Dan went to the hospital, kind of, like, excited. He's like, great, I'm glad my friend's back to normal. But the person who greeted him had gleaming eyes and a firm handshake, and it was obviously not Edward. So Dan went home, horrified beyond reason, and was like, if that's not Edward, who is that? And also,
Who could it be?
But he also said, where is where is Edward? Like, where is he now if he's not in there? So a day passed and the hospital called and said the patient was unchanged. And he was like, maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe I should go to the sanitarium.
It's not about you, Dan.
I know. It is about Dan a little. Part 6, last part.
Mm-hmm.
After that second evening, around midnight, the phone rang at Dan's house. He was the only one up, so he brought the receiver to the library and answered it. But on the other line, he only heard a faint glub, glub, glub. Like a glub, glub, glub. Like it's like a, they describe it as a glub, 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 but I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a wet back of the throat sound. He thought it might be mechanical, so he was like, oh, what is going on? And so he was like, hey, I can't hear you. Maybe call information or something, like hang up and try calling back. And so the receiver suddenly went dead and no one was on the other line anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So he hung up. 1 week later, he did have this call traced after everything happened, and it was traced back to Edward's and Asenath's house. So the call came from their home. The house had been apparently broken into. There was dirt tracked all through it. The wardrobe had been rifled through, and a piece of paper from some stationery had been ripped out. And there were also baffling marks on the telephone and a stench throughout the entire house. That's a week later. They discovered that in their home. Okay, so the police theorized that the servants had come back for revenge, those 3 servants.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to prank call him because he was one of Edward's friends. But that didn't make sense to Dan. Dan says, quote, idiots. Do they fancy those brutish clowns could have forged that handwriting? Do they fancy they could have brought what later came? Are they blind to the changes in that body that was Edward's? As for me, I now believe all that Edward Derby ever told me. Can't have a minute too soon. There are horrors.
It can only happen like a week too late.
There are horrors beyond life's edge that we do not suspect, and once in a while, man's evil prying calls them just within our range. Ephraim, Asenath, that devil called them in, and they engulfed Edward as they were engulfing me. But that's getting ahead of ourselves, Max. Back to the night of the telephone call.
Mm-hmm.
At about 2 a.m., the door knockers and doorbells woke him up, both at the same time. But they were doing a shaky 3-2 rhythm. That was Edward's knock, and Edward didn't do that when he wasn't himself. He knocked normally. So he was like, oh, Edward's out. Good. Okay, so maybe he escaped from the sanitarium. That's fine. I'll help him. I'm just happy he's okay. I thought it was really weird. He was obviously taken over by that person, so now he's back in his own body. So he ran downstairs, he threw open the door, and he was met with a foul stench that almost made him throw up. Like, it hit him in the face, and he, started gagging as soon as the door opened. And there was a hunched figure at the door, wrapped in one of Edward's overcoats. The buttons were almost touching the floor, and the sleeves were rolled back, but still didn't show the hands. So this figure was, tiny, and it was wearing a hat pulled over the head, and the face was wrapped in, almost like a ski mask, like those things that you put over. He said, quote, as I stepped unsteadily forward, the figure made a semi-liquid sound like that I had heard over the telephone. Club, club. That's the sound it was making. And thrust at me a large, closely written paper impaled on the end of a long pencil. It was without question Edward's handwriting, but it was shaky and too close and just strange. So Dan stepped back in his house because he needed the light to read it, and the figure started to follow him, but then stopped on the threshold and didn't come inside the house. The note begged Dan to go back to the sanitarium and kill his body. He admitted that when he said he had confronted Asenath, he had actually killed her. She had been dead for 3.5 months, but even though she was gone, she hadn't stopped stealing his body. She was seizing his mind and forcing it into her corpse in the cellar.
Ugh.
Yep. The sacrifice was still going to happen even without them present. So Hollow Mass was coming up anyway, and it was still on. And he thought he'd gotten rid of it, but he hadn't. All Ephraim needed now was to get out of the sanatorium and complete the ritual, stealing Edward's body for good. He had known he couldn't just stay in that corpse and let it happen, so he had physically picked up the corpse and clawed his way out from where he had been buried.
Oh my God.
Edward couldn't manage to speak on the telephone when he had tried to call him, so he had written a letter, dragged the rotting corpse through the streets to his door. His letter begged Dan to kill the monster and cremate it. Cremate it or it would continue to body hop forever, wreaking havoc on the world. And the letter ended with, goodbye. You've been a great friend. Tell the police whatever they'll believe, and I'm damnedly sorry to drag all this on you. I'll be at peace before long. This thing won't hold together much more. Hope you can read this and kill that thing. Kill it. Yours, Ed. So Dan fainted while reading this letter.
Sure.
And then he woke up and saw the lump that was in Edward's coat. And so he like kind of crawled towards it, but the smell was like overpowering. And when he pulled back Edward's coat on like his doorstep, he saw like a rotting corpse that had been rotting for 3 months, and he had fainted again. The next morning, a messenger arrived, and the messenger had a stronger stomach than he did and called the police. And Dan had gone straight to the sanatorium as soon as he was able to, and he shot Edward Derby in the head 6 times. He was terrified because after he shot him, he like left, but they weren't going to just cremate the body. They needed to do an autopsy and an investigation. So they were just holding the body in a secure location now. And he said, I'm not sure if they're going to cremate it. They have to cremate it. And he said, quote, I shall go mad if he is not, for I may be the next. But my will is not weak, and I shall not let it be undermined by the terrors I know are seething around it. One life, Ephraim, Asenath, and Edward. Who now? I will not be driven out of my body. And the last line of the story is, what they finally found inside Edward's oddly assorted clothes was mostly liquescent horror. There were bones, too, and a crushed-in skull. Some dental work positively identified the skull as Asenath's. The end. Spooky.
Gross.
So Edward is definitely H.P. Lovecraft.
Sure.
He's like definitely a self-insert character. He doesn't trust women. He thinks they're inferior.
Oh my god.
I do think this is a very spooky tale. I enjoyed reading it. I liked the twist at the end. I was fine with it.
I was really desperately hoping that the twist at the end was going to be that like she turned him into a frog and he was just a little frog wearing an overcoat and a hat.
Oh, just a little guy. Glomp, glomp.
Yeah.
No, it's worse.
That is
rotting
worse.
corpse whose vocal cords had rotted away and were liquid now.
That's worse.
Yeah.
That's worse than a frog, for sure.
I do really love a horror story that has a narrator who is trying to defend themselves against allegations of being crazy.
You do really like that.
I do really like that. I am drawn to that.
Yeah, you do.
The thing about H.P. Lovecraft that I have for most writers at this age, most Victorian writers, or like, you know, post-Victorian writers,
Edwardian.
they are just too wordy. I just don't like it. I don't like how wordy they are. I don't like how you have to get through a bunch of fluff in order to get there. He's not the most egregious of this, but it is a very like...
Yeah.
It's a long-winded way to do it. Like the story I don't think had to be as long as it was, but I did enjoy myself.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
The thing on the doorstep. That's classic horror. That's classic Goosebumps shit, you know?
That's very like, there's literally a, what is it? Creep show? Or Tales from the Dark Side?
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt?
Yeah.
One of those.
Or like even Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I really liked it. I love the feelies. I like it. There's just a lot in there as well that I'm like, okay, fuck you. Everything about Asenath I hated.
A couple of things, having read just a whole fucking pile of Lovecraft to impress a boy in high school.
I mean, come on. Again, I played the French horn briefly for a boy in high school. It did not work. French horn, not sexy.
Arkham is one of the locations that shows up in a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's work. It's Arkham Asylum comes from H.P. Lovecraft. Miskatonic University.
That's where Edward went.
Yeah, is a university of the occult where a lot of like people are like, I called in an expert on spooky shit, and he was a professor at Miskatonic University, which isn't real, but
but has an intense library of occult magic books.
Yeah. So those are kind of two of the like signposts of Lovecraft and everything. So it's really cool to hear it.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
Oh, also a Shoggoth. The Shoggoth is the name for like the old and ancient gods. So like Cthulhu is a Shoggoth, if I'm remembering correctly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the being then that Ephraim made a deal with when they started screaming Shoggoth.
Yeah.
And he said Kamog, which is Edward's name. Sorry, Ephraim's name.
Yeah, like a Cthulhu, really Italian, something. Oh my god.
Max is about to summon shit here.
Oopsie.
Okay, Max. I am absolutely goddamn exhausted from talking for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Oh boy, that was
you did so good,
long.
though.
Thank you so much. Do you want to take a break?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.
Okay, Janey.
Okay, full disclosure, guys. I got super sick. And we had to take a several day long break. A 2-day long break.
Yes.
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 So it's been 2 days for us, and now it's daytime. The sun is shining. It's a different vibe here for spooky stories.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to tell you my story, Janey.
I'm excited to hear it, Max. I'm also excited that I don't have to talk for an hour and a half. I legitimately had to go take a strep test. I hurt so bad right now.
I am so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not your fault, but it will be my fault when you get sick.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me your weird tale.
Absolutely. This story comes from Weird Tales.
Yeah,
October 1937. This story by H.P. Lovecraft is called The Shunned House. This is one of his earlier works, and I think you can kind of tell it's one of my favorites. It's one of the first ones that I read of his, because I was just reading straight through a Lovecraft compendium, and it was in chronological order, and it's one of my favorites. Okay. So,
isn't it one of... The way I heard it described, because I don't know anything about it, I don't have a single synopsis, but the way I read it described was that it was one of his more hopeful, cheerful tales.
In a way. In a way.
They were like, you could tell he was in a good mood when he wrote this.
Yeah, it's an interesting story in terms of like the greater collection of his work, because it is the closest to kind of true sci-fi a little bit, and also a little bit of like gothic fantasy sort of thing. Yeah. But it's those are the prevailing themes rather than the theme of horror to me. Whereas a lot of his other stories are like, horror with themes of sci-fi. Okay. You know?
Cool.
Which I think is pretty cool.
That is cool.
This is also, we talked a little bit about like how all of his stories are rooted in personal experience. This is based on a house that he used to walk past all the time.
Nice. So guys, when you are being judged for boarding up your windows or never mowing your lawn or just letting your house go into general disarray, remember that there might be a spooky little kid who's planning their future career off of writing about your house. So there's inspiration can be found everywhere. You keep doing you.
That's the plot of Monster House and also It Chapter 2.
It comes up quite a bit.
Yeah.
You keep being an inspiration to spooky little kids everywhere. We understand you and we love you.
The dream. So, the story begins by saying, there's this house.
Okay. Tell me more.
It is shunned.
Oh no.
You'll never believe. It starts, the narrator explains that this is a house in Providence, Rhode Island, in like the historic part of town. And ironically, Edgar Allan Poe used to walk up and down that road all the time while he was courting one of the ladies. And he spent a lot of time in the graveyard that's at the end of the road, and described it a lot in his works. And they're like, it's so crazy that he talks a lot about like this graveyard and this road and everything, but he never mentions this house that is just so ominous that nobody ever wants to be near it. Like people will cross the street away from this house.
Is that true? Is that in the story, or is it true that Edgar Allan Poe used to go there?
I think it is true that Edgar Allan Poe used to go to the graveyard down the street.
That's cool.
It is also true that this house does not appear in any of Edgar Allan Poe's works. Okay. So this is like a weird thing where H.P. Lovecraft is being like, it's weird that I noticed this and Edgar Allan Poe didn't. He was right here. But the narrator explains that this is, a house that it is shocking that of all people, Edgar Allan Poe would not have noticed how ominous this house is. Yeah. The house is built on Benefit Street. It's a farm-style house, so it's like 3 stories, peaked roof, wide, flat sides to the house and everything. It's built in an area where there used to be a graveyard, but the graveyard was moved down the street to where it is when Edgar Allan Poe was looking at it. Okay. But they, picked up all the graves, they dug up all the bodies, they moved everything down the street. And then they built this house here.
Imagine kicking people out of their graves so that you could put your house there.
Yeah, right?
It's really fucked up.
We live in Savannah.
Yeah, we live in Savannah.
They didn't even bother kicking anyone out.
Where they never dig up any of the bodies. They just moved the tombstones. That's real. That's why Savannah's so haunted. Guys, come to Savannah. It's very haunted.
We're so cursed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they moved all of these bodies to make way for the road, Benefit Street, which became one of the main thoroughfares in like the colonial era of this town. one of the main roads, so they had to make space for it. The gravestones in the new quote-unquote cemetery are close enough by that like you can kind of see them from the street outside of the house. It's a hillside churchyard of the Church of St. John's, and it's very, very beautiful. The narrator is like, you know, I can see why Edgar Allan Poe wrote so much about this graveyard, because it's a very, very beautiful graveyard, and it does cast kind of a history on the area around it. The house itself was built with a basement, but it's close-ish to the waterfront, and the earth is loamy enough that over time, the basement and the building of the road, the basement becomes exposed on one side. So they actually build a door in this like exposed basement wall that comes straight out onto the street. And they have two little like slit windows on either side of the door to let some light in. But this was like, used to be a basement, is now the ground floor to the street level. Mm-hmm. The house itself it's described as having a mangy lawn, roomy brick walls, RHEUM, like phlegmy, kind of.
Are they like gooey? Gooey brick walls?
Yeah, they're like damp and like crumbly a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And neglected gardens. So this house the house that it's actually based on is like a pale yellow color, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the gardens outside, like the grass just grows kind of pale and sickly.
Yeah.
All of the weeds that grow up in the garden are crooked in some way, where they're like, you can't really put your finger on it, but something about them is like something went wrong when they were growing.
This is sounding a lot like our house, and I am taking offense.
Yeah, I mean.
Our lawn has been replaced by weeds for several years now, and it's just worse and worse and worse every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we rent, so, like, not our problem.
Not our problem. The trees outside are these, like, old apple trees that were planted when the first family moved into the house, and nobody's ever seen them bear fruit. They're probably dead. Like, they're just crooked, twisted old apple trees and everything that don't fruit, don't leaf, don't flower. Mm-hmm. Just, like, these black, crooked forms outside of the house. The narrator explains that he himself learned a little bit about the house's history because his uncle was a hobby historian of the area. Mm-hmm. And so his uncle had been really interested in this house and had collected a bunch of records on, you know, who had lived there before, how this house came to be, like why, trying to figure out what is so spooky about this house, because everyone acknowledges that like this house is really weird. Mm-hmm. And that is partially because of all of the deaths. Uh-oh. They describe the house as being not haunted, but unlucky, where something about the house, like the people who move into the house aren't always super healthy people.
Yeah.
Because they're middle-aged white people in New England in the 1800s. But as soon as they move into the house, their health starts to decline. The narrator's uncle, Dr. Elihu Whipple.
A reminder that his grandfather's name was Whipple Van Buren.
Mm-hmm.
Whipple's such a silly name.
It really is. I really like it.
Yeah.
Like a little whippet.
Yeah. Aw, Whipple the Whippet.
Aw.
We can never use it, though, because Whipple Van Buren was definitely also a racist.
Mm-hmm. So when people moved into the house, like anything that was kind of not well in them became worse.
Okay.
And some of the tenants actually started going crazy when they moved into the house. Like over time, their sanity would start to dwindle. The houses on either side of this house are fine. They are totally normal. Like they're separated houses. They're not like row houses or anything, but it's like literally next door on either side is like happy families, healthy, etc. Totally fine. And then there's just this like pale, sickly house in between them that anyone who moves in like starts to lose it a little bit.
Yeah.
The misshapen weeds and the terraces outside of the house, birds never land for long on the terraces. If anything, they will like land on the terraces and the railings and then immediately fly off like very fast. And everyone's like, ooh. It's a spooky place. So the house at this point, when the narrator is talking about it, he explains that the house is semi-abandoned. It's owned and it's available for rent, but nobody wants to rent it because of
the horrors.
the horrors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the deaths.
Yeah, the horrors and the histories. We get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So nobody wants to rent it. It's been sitting empty for like 60 years at this point.
Wow.
And the inside is all cobwebs and dust and everything, mold growing through the floorboards.
But I bet it's so cheap. Like,
Oh my
imagine
God.
just like renovating
It's probably only like $800 a month.
What? You and I could be there. We already have all that stuff, including the horrors.
Including the horrors.
Yeah, and the sickness.
Should we call them?
We should call them.
But like the floorboards are all rotting. The walls are like bowing inwards. There are cobwebs all over everything and like a thin, slimy layer of dust.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just rotting. So none of the tenants stay for any amount of time. Even when it was renting, it would only rent for a week or a month, and then the tenants would move out.
Yeah.
Anyone who stayed longer than a month started to show the signs of decline.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I'm hearing all of this, and
Okay.
I'm hearing black mold.
Black mold, lead, asbestos,
Yes.
all the things that would have been in a
Yes.
house at this time, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Which, I mean, like, all the other houses in the area would also have all of those things. So it is kind of weird, but I'm like, they keep talking about how moldy this house is. And I'm like, yeah, they're getting sick.
All the other houses might have been built a little bit better, but also this is the specific house where they dug up the graveyard and then they moved it. So there could just be
yeah. There are definitely other things going on.
Actual biological reasons why everybody is getting a little bit sick in this house.
Yeah, for sure. So the narrator, most of this story is the narrator describing the house and describing the history and revealing things as they go along.
Okay.
Of like facts. So I'm
Yeah.
going to try and present it in kind of the same way that they do. So I'll get to some of the horrors in just a minute. The cellar itself is humid and dank and full of fungal growth.
Oh, the cellar, Cellar.
Yes.
We were just talking about the realtor, and I was like,
Oh.
damn, even the realtor's messed up.
He's nasty.
The seller himself is a gross, dank, musty old man. It's like, fuck.
He's a musty old bitch.
I mean, okay.
The cellar of the house, the basement,
Yes.
is humid and dank and full of fungal growth. These sort of like misshapen white patches of mold and stuff on the walls. And then the whole floor, the dirt floor of this basement has this kind of like, you know, when you overwater a houseplant and it gets that like
Root rot?
fine white mold across the top of it.
Yeah.
The floor kind of looks like that,
Oh.
where it has all of these like ashen, dusty patches of mold and moss just like that appear and disappear in strange shapes on the floor. Again, I'm like, I don't have asthma, but I am having an asthma attack in this story. If you came to the house at nighttime, you would be able to tell that this fungus in the basement, like the white fungus on the walls and on the floors, and a little bit of it is like more of like a sickly yellow color, especially closer to the fireplace in the cellar. You would see that all of this mold growth at night is like so advanced that it's slightly phosphorescent, where it's like just a little bit of a glow, like someone, almost the amount of light of like if there was a closed door and someone had a candle in the room, the room outside is like how much light it would be. So it's not like you can't like, it's not like glowing, but it's like
You can't have a
weird.
rave, but you will notice something kind of magical.
Yeah. Definitely a little bit magical, but people walking by the house, they look in through the slit windows on either side of the door and like they're able to see this kind of phosphorescent glow that's this like pale white, blue, yellow color kind of.
Yeah.
And some of them say that the cause is not the fungus, but witch fires. The idea that like there's some kind of entity in there that is conjuring something and creating this light.
Ooh.
Entity. The area around the fireplace that had these more yellow sort of shapes tended more towards like the yellow mold, grew up a little bit thicker than like the dusty mold around it. And when the narrator came into this house with his uncle as a very young man, he got the distinct impression, he was like, this yellowish mold shape in front of the fireplace, he's like, it looks like something and I can't figure out what it looks like. And he sat and looked at it for a little while and he was like, oh, it looks like someone like hunched over in the fetal position.
Ooh, like lying on the floor.
Yeah, it looks like a figure doubled over on the floor, like the shadow of someone or whatever. Or whatever.
Oh, whatever.
Or whatever. He also notices as he's sitting there that the floor, this like thin, dusty layer of mold, it almost seems to breathe, where sometimes it will like send up spores, just like little, barely perceptible, but like if you were there at like sunrise or sunset, the light coming in through the slit windows, you could see like little puffs of spores coming up from the floor. Yeah.
Ew.
This house is gross.
H.P. Lovecraft studied mold too much for this story.
So all in all, this is a very unsettling effect.
Yeah.
To this house. It's real moldy. It's crooked. It's damp. It's moldy. It's fungal. It's moldy. It's gross. It's wet. It's moldy and fungus.
And there's mold.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Some things about this house.
I would say the worst things are that it's moldy and there's fungus, for sure. And
third,
the wet.
Yeah, third is probably wet.
Yeah, wet. So.
Yeah. Fourth is the horrors.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget the horrors.
So, let me tell you a little bit about these horrors.
Okay.
As the narrator gets older, he like keeps pestering his uncle to let him in on this like sort of casual research project that he's doing. And he's like, you know, you're doing all this research. Let me see what you found about this house and everything. And his uncle's like, you don't need to know about this. Like, it's got a kind of a grisly history, and you're just a boy, and you don't need to know all of the details.
Yeah.
And as the narrator gets older and older, he continues to pester his uncle about this. And finally, his uncle's like, okay, you can read my notes, but just like don't mess with them and give them back when you're done.
Yeah.
The narrator goes through all of Dr. Elihu Whipple's notes.
Oh, Mr. Whipple.
Which he's compiled over, you know, a couple years of casual study. He's been collecting any kind of records that he can find in like the town hall and everything about the tenants of the house and the events that have occurred there. Mm-hmm. The earliest record is from 1763. The structure was built for a man named William Harris, who had a wife named Roby Dexter.
Roby was his grandmother's name. Aww. He named these people after his grandparents, Whipple and Roby.
That's cute.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've never heard the name Roby before, but R-H-O-B-Y. I kind of like it.
Her name was R-O-B-I-E. So, yeah, he changed it just enough.
Just a little
like,
bit
for both
like,
of them.
This isn't my grandma.
I think it's really sweet.
I like it. So, William Harris and Roby Dexter, and their 4 children, Elkanah, who's the oldest, and a boy, Abigail, William Jr., Ruth, and then Roby is pregnant with their 5th child. Yeah. So they have a baby on the way. They move into the house once it is constructed. William Harris has like a stipend. He was a military man. And so after some war, I don't know, history, math, time.
Yeah.
He was given his stipend and, you know, discharged with honors. Mm-hmm. And moved into this house. They moved in as quickly as they could because, you know, they have this baby on the way. And then in December of 1763, that year, the baby is born, and the baby is stillborn. Mm. And that is the first of many deaths in the Shunned house. In 1764, in April, a wasting sickness, afflicts the family. Both Abigail and Ruth die of this sickness. There aren't a lot of records about what exactly it is, but there's like, it's like fever, it's a wasting disease, and that's all it says. Huh. Both Abigail and Ruth die in April. In June, their servant, Hannah Bowen, dies of the same illness.
Okay.
The next year in 1765, Eli Littison, who was one of their servants, he complained about the mold all the time, and especially after Hannah Bowen passed away, he was like, I'm not gonna work here anymore. I'm gonna go move back home with my parents.
Yeah.
But they got a new maid to replace Hannah, and her name was Mehitabel Pierce.
Mehitabel?
Yeah. And Eli Littison fell in love with Mehitabel. So he was like, no. I'm gonna get out of here someday. But, like, unless you wanted to hang out or whatever.
But, like, what do you think of that? It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that too.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I like mold, actually, right?
Kind of cool, actually. So.
Oh, Eli.
Yeah. So in 1765, Eli Littison dies.
Oh, no, Eli. You fool.
Yeah, they don't write it down because he's a servant, so who cares? But he dies after complaining about the mold for literally years.
# too horny.
Too horny. Also in 1765, William Harris, the father of the family, passes away.
Jesus. So now there's only 2 kids left?
Yes. So Elkanah, the oldest son, and William Jr. are the two kids remaining.
Yeah.
William Harris, the father, has passed away. The mother is still alive.
Oh, okay.
So it's a mother and her two sons. In 1767, Elkanah dies.
No.
So now it's just Roby and William Jr.
Mm-hmm.
In 1768, in part because of the death of her eldest son, Roby Dexter
Is institutionalized.
goes insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Couldn't have seen that coming.
What? That's so crazy.
That seems so out of character for H.P. Lovecraft to put a woman in a sanitarium.
Oh my God. Well, actually, incidentally, he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
She just goes crazy, but they're like a fairly well-to-do family.
Yeah.
So of course they're not going to put her in a hospital. That would be crazy. They call her sister.
Oh.
And her sister, Mercy Dexter, comes and takes care of her
Oh.
and locks Roby Dexter in the upper floors of the house where she can be crazy in peace.
That is the theme of so many Victorian stories.
I know, right? So Mercy Dexter moves in to help Roby and William Jr. Roby is kind of closed away into the attic.
Mm-hmm.
Also in 1768, Mehitabel dies.
Oh no, not hot Mehitabel.
Rip. Also, a servant that they had hired on after Eli Littison had died. His name was Preserved Smith.
Jesus.
Preserved Smith.
Smith.
Jesus.
Preserved Smith. Mercy. Like,
Yeah.
just, these names are fucking intense.
Yeah. Oh, very. Yes. Very colonial
Quibble.
New England. Yeah. Preserved Smith, who's one of their servants, he does not die. He leaves very quickly in the middle of the night. Doesn't tell anyone where he's going, but he's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So
he really lives up to his name.
More like Self-Preservation Smith.
Self-preserved Smith.
So at this point, it's just Mercy Dexter, Roby Dexter, William Jr. All of their servants have either died or left.
Yeah.
So Mercy kind of takes over the household. She hires two servants, Anne White and Zena Slow, and it takes her a long time to find these two people because she cannot find anyone in town who wants to work in this house.
Yeah, no kidding.
For reasons.
You'd have to pay them a lot of money.
Yes. So she like goes out of town and brings people in from out of town to come work in the house because they haven't heard the stories about the house.
Fuck you, Mercy.
But Anne White, even though she agrees to come work in the house, she does know a little bit about the house. Mm-hmm. And she is only in the house for a couple of months before Mercy fires her. Oh. Because Anne White is a gossip. And she is spreading scary stories about the house and the people inside. So Mercy fires Anne and hires another servant in her place. Her name's Maria Robbins.
Okay.
Around the same time, William Jr. Spends a lot of time. His mom is declining. Yeah. So Mercy sends him to stay with his cousin Peleg, and who lives like across town, basically. Yeah. And so he'll stay over there for like a week or two at a time.
Yeah, probably good for him.
Yeah, every time he comes back, he's like much he's a very like sickly kid in general. Every time he comes back, he's like, you know, flushed and healthy and happy and bubbly, and then he moves back into the house and like within a week is super sickly again.
Oh my God.
Yeah. nobody's putting together, I mean, like everyone's putting together the pieces, but nobody's like, maybe we should move.
What if we just left this house?
What if this house is bad?
What if? Really?
So William Jr. is spending more and more time away, and Mercy like sends him away as often as she can. But, you know, Roby in her periods of lucidity always asks after her son. So Mercy tries to make sure that, you know, William Jr. is back in the house pretty often so he can see his mother and, you know, help her keep that tether a little bit. Roby's disease at this point has progressed significantly, where initially it was just she would occasionally have fits of not really knowing what was going on in the real world and stuff like that. And she would just be very confused, and she would like talk about people who weren't there or who had died and everything. It has progressed from that to full on like seizure fits. And she, for the most part, stopped eating. So she's kind of like almost skeletal. And she has these screaming tantrums where she is like violent and thrashing and everything. The interesting thing though is that oftentimes during these fits, she will start to screech and curse in French. Oh. Which she doesn't speak.
Uh-oh. Good
concerning.
Hey, it's time to leave the house.
It's time to leave the house. But she starts like just spitting at people in French and like cursing and swearing. Yeah.
That's the sound of spitting in French.
Yeah. She's just wildcatting. She is not doing well. In 1772, Zenas Lowe, the servant, dies.
Oh, no.
And Roby Dexter Harris also dies. When she dies, Mercy is left in the house with William Jr.
Yeah.
And Maria Robbins. Roby, not much is known about her death, except that there was a gradual severe decline followed by a very rapid decline, and that nobody will talk about how she died.
Okay.
But Roby Dexter dies in 1772. In 1775, William Harris Jr. enlists in the army and begins to travel.
He lasted 3 years in that house, though.
Yeah, and he immediately starts feeling better. He sends letters back home to his Aunt Mercy and to Maria Robbins saying, like, oh, I'm exploring the world. Like, I feel so amazing. I'm so proud to be a part of the army.
I just love the army.
In 1780, William Jr. marries Phoebe Hetfield. Mercy and Maria are both still alive. They both still live in the house, but they both have aged beyond their years when he comes home. They're stooped and crooked and very, very weak.
Yeah.
Will Jr. moves back home with Mercy and Maria and his new wife, Phoebe Hetfield.
Mm-hmm.
In 1782, 2 years later, Phoebe gives birth to their first child, who is also stillborn.
Oh, no.
In 1783, Mercy dies. Again, had been declining for some time. Nobody talks about the cause of death. Nobody wants the details at all. So Mercy dies. William Jr. is like, fuck this house, actually, and he moves out with his family.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
They move across town to, he starts building a house across town, sort of in the more metropolitan district, because the town has been growing this whole time and everything.
Yeah.
So he's been building a house, and it's like not quite finished, and he's like, we're not waiting. We're getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So he takes his family, and they all...
And Maria Robbins.
I assume.
Yeah.
They don't say that, but yes, I assume. He moves out to the new house, and they live in it while it's being finished. Mm-hmm. In 1785, William Jr. has a son whose name is Duty. A healthy baby boy.
Duty.
Yeah, healthy baby boy Duty. In 1797, William Jr. and Phoebe are both stricken with yellow fever as an epidemic sweeps through the countryside. Yeah. They both die of yellow fever. Duty is brought up by his cousin Rathbone Harris, the son of
Daniel
Peleg.
Daniel Rathbone. Actually, I guess it'd be Jackson Rathbone.
It would be.
Jackson.
It would be.
Jackson Rathbone.
Yeah, it would be.
By the way, in case anybody is like, yellow fever, it's spread through mosquitoes. Mosquito bites.
Mosquitoes.
Mosquito. Jackson Rathbone.
Bloodsuckers.
Battle scars.
So Duty is brought up by his cousin Rathbone Harris, who's an adult. Rathbone Harris is put in control of all of the assets that are left to Duty Harris. I'm being super cool and mature about it, so everyone just calm down. So he is kind of placed as steward of all of Duty's possessions, and he receives specific orders from William Jr. Prior to his death. He was like, don't let anyone live in that house.
Yeah.
That house is bad. It killed most of my family.
Yes.
Leave it empty. Mm-hmm. You might want to rent it out. Don't. Leave it empty.
How about just knock it down and sell the lot?
I mean, they could, but I don't know. They don't do that. Rathbone Harris says, fuck that, and immediately tries to rent out the house.
Oh my God.
This is a period of time in which a bunch of tenants come in and then leave very quickly. The tenants either move out within a month or they stay for longer and they die. Mm-hmm. There is a point when the county actually forces Rathbone Harris to fumigate the house because it smells so much like dead people because of all the deaths.
Because of all the dead people.
Yeah. So this house is just awful.
Yeah.
In 1815, Duty has a son because he's living in the house with Rathbone Harris, and then he's out making his own life. Duty has a son named Welcome Harris.
Okay.
Yeah. Puritan ass.
Welcome.
In 1862, Welcome, who at this point is in his 30s and has joined the army, he dies in the Battle of Fredericksburg.
Okay.
But he leaves behind a healthy son, Archer.
Archer is a good name.
Archer Harris.
Now we're finally getting into really good names. I love the name Archer.
Mm-hmm. In 1861, just before Welcome died at Fredericksburg, there was a series of mysterious deaths in the house,
Oh, no.
which they don't go into a lot of detail on, but they're like, yeah, and then there was the deaths, and then he died. But after 1861, the house never rented again. It was always put up for rent, and it was never rented out because everyone fucking knew. They were like, people keep fucking dying there. I don't want to live there.
Yeah.
I don't want to live there.
I'm not moving my family into that death house.
Yeah, the murder house.
Yeah. The one where everyone's murdered by the house.
Yeah. I wouldn't live there.
No.
I don't like being dead.
I hate it when my family is murdered in the house.
So several generations later, from Archer Harris, we have Carrington Harris, who is, at the time of the writing, the current owner of the house.
Yeah.
So the narrator goes through all of this very long history. Thank you for your patience.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
Did I look like I was bored?
No. I'm just...
Oh, yeah.
That was a lot of names and dates and facts. I do feel like
it's
they're
important. It's setting up...
Yeah.
We talked about this with my story. It sets up a tone, but it also highlights some very key clues, I think, about the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is sort of, honestly, it kind of reads like almost like a detective novel where he's putting together all of the pieces from his uncle's notes and from like his own research and everything. And so he's like figuring things out as the story goes on. The narrator then comes back and he starts talking about, he's like, at this point, I had read a lot about the house, and so I decided I wanted to go back in.
Yeah. So
he asked Carrington Harris if he wouldn't mind, him checking out the house and everything, and Carrington didn't care. He, as far as he was concerned, it's kind of just like a house that he can't get rid of. It's kind of a burden. Yeah. The narrator notes that in the basement, there are all of these overgrown roots from like the trees outside and everything that have started to grow into the basement and forming these weirdly human shapes underneath the floor. So you'll just see like the mounding in the floor that almost looks like limbs or something like that.
Yeah.
Anne White, the servant who was fired for gossiping.
Oh, yeah.
She started the rumor, which pervades to this story's writing, that the house is the way that it is because it is haunted by a vampire.
Oh, okay.
Anne White claimed that there was a vampiric force that was somehow associated with the house or the land or something that was part of this like rotten earth underneath of the house, and that it was feeding on the inhabitants of the house and like killing them.
You guys should read The Feather Pillow. It's a Victorian short story, The Feather Pillow, by an author. I think his name is Quiroga.
I've never heard
Speaking of wasting sicknesses and being fed on by a house. It is
also the yellow wallpaper.
Yellow wallpaper is very, very good, but specifically The Feather Pillow is very much about that. It's very just that's it. That's all you get.
Hell yeah.
It's very spooky.
I love it. So Anne White started this rumor that like the house itself is a vampire in some way. And she was like, well, in order to kill a vampire, you know what you do. You have to exhume it and burn the heart or stake the heart or something. And so she started like trying to tell the Harrises during her stay in the house. She was like, we have to dig up the floor. Like, we've got to figure out what's going on. And like, she was going around talking to everyone like, oh my God, like they won't dig it up. Like they just won't acknowledge that something's going on and everything. And everyone's like, wow, what a gossip.
Also,
so like, hang on. Yeah. The servants, especially the servants that early on in the house's history, the servants would stay in the basement. There's like a basement kitchen and everything like that. And in later years, servants refused to stay down there because all throughout the house, but especially in the basement, the servants primarily would claim that it felt as though something was sucking their breath at night.
Oh.
So it was like they would wake up out of breath, which is pretty bad.
Cats do that to babies.
No, they don't.
Cats do that to babies, guys.
No, they don't.
They crawl in and then they go into the baby's mouth and they...
Okay, Janey's mom.
That's a story my mom used to tell me quite a bit to discourage me from ever getting a cat. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Because I like cats more than I like babies.
Oh, so true. And you don't even like cats.
No.
So the narrator also mentions at this point that all those mysterious deaths and stuff that happened, we don't have to talk about it, but like kind of a weird detail that when the bodies had autopsies done on them, there was like no blood.
Oh my God. What?
Kind of just a weird detail. Moving on.
No.
He also finds in these like historical accounts and from his own research and everything that Roby Harris in her like raving fits would describe the sharp teeth of a glassy-eyed, half-visible presence where she would just start screaming about like the teeth, and then go into a fit.
So Anne was on to something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn it.
But like, fuck you, Anne.
Yeah, fuck you, Anne, you crazy
Not fuck you,
gossip.
Anne. Anne was right. Justice for Anne.
Such a woman.
The narrator finds a set of newspaper clippings from 1815 and 1845, and he is struck by similarities between the two. And this wouldn't have stood out to everyone, so he's not surprised that his uncle hasn't come across it. This is the point at which he's like going to the library and doing his own research to supplement what his uncle has given him. In 1815, there are records of people in the house who were dying, glaring glassily and attempting to bite the throat of the attending physician. In 1845, a similar account explained that some very ill individuals in the house would attempt the lives of his relations by incision in the neck or wrist. So, like... so, I mean, like...
Okay, so, like... Damn it.
Just a couple of interesting facts. The narrator also decides to do some more research into the rumors that Roby Harris in her fits spoke French.
Yeah.
So he talks to Carrington Harris and some of his other family members, and he's like, do the Harrises have any kind of like French lineage, any kind of French connection, if you will? The Harrises have absolutely no connection with France. They are not from France. They have never married someone from France. They've never probably been to France. None of them speak French. Absolutely no connection whatsoever.
Yeah.
As he's talking, though, to Carrington Harris's cousin, I think, she says that she remembers when Mercy Harris died, there were rumors that something strange had happened to Mercy on her deathbed. Nobody remembers the specifics, but she mentions this when he tells her about the 1815 and 1845, like, very sick people attacking their family and their physicians. So she's like, I heard something about Mercy Harris on her deathbed, but I don't remember the details. And he's like, okay, so that's connected. Like, it's something like that. Like, she doesn't remember the details, but that reminded her of that. So it's connected.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers details about Mercy's death. He does further research and he's like, okay, let's look into the obvious thing of, oh, right, they moved a graveyard. The house was built on what was formerly a graveyard for a family called the Throckmortons. Their bodies were exhumed, moved up onto the graveyard on the hill along with the gravestones. So he's like, that's, solved. We know
where they are.
Yeah, we know where they are, and, there's nothing going on there. But as he's doing his research, he comes across an account from 1697, which the roads all had different names and were like in slightly different places, so nobody had like noticed this before. But the narrator comes on an account from 1697 where the land that the house is on was leased to a man named Etienne Roulet and his wife.
French.
They are French.
Uh-oh.
And he's like, interesting. They are French.
It would make sense that H.P. Lovecraft would also hate the French.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He looks at old schematics of the house and the surrounding land that the Roulets owned, and he realizes that the house is actually built on the small graveyard that the Roulets had outside of their house. So before the Throckmortons were there and had their bodies exhumed and moved, the Roulets had a small graveyard which only had like 3 graves or something like that the Throckmortons' house was built on. So it's like, this is something that nobody's encountered before, that this actually was 2 graveyards and they only moved one of them.
Uh-oh.
So the Roulet graveyard, to all appearances, is still underneath of the house.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is definitely it. This is the French connection. This is why this is all wrong. This is all awful.
Yeah.
So he starts to do research into the Roulets. And he himself notes the name Roulet. He's like, that rings a bell. And he goes through his own notes because he's a bit of a historian in his own right. And he especially likes to research things that are a little bit beyond the norm. And he remembers that he read the name Roulet from an account of Jacques Roulet of Caude in 1598 in France. Jacques Roulet was sentenced to death for lycanthropy.
Oh.
A young boy was attacked by a pack of wolves. Hunters came along and tried to save the boy, were not successful, killed all of the wolves but one, who was severely injured, loped off into the woods.
Yeah.
Several hours later, Jacques Roulet was found bloody and covered in torn bits of flesh and clothes, passed out on his floor. And so they were like, so you were a wolf, you attacked the kid, and then...
Or, so he was also attacked by wolves.
He was fine, though. But they were like, you're obviously a werewolf, and you're sentenced to death. And then...
story has vampires and werewolves?
I know.
Oh my god!
So
where the hell have you been, Loco?
Where have you been?
Where have you been?
He is sentenced to death by hanging, but during the time between when he is arrested and when he is set to hang, they decide to commute his sentence and they send him to an asylum.
Okay.
So the narrator researches more into the Roulets. The Roulets moved to town in 1696 from East Greenwich, which is...
Connecticut?
Sounds like Connecticut.
Yeah.
Could be Connecticut. They come from East Greenwich, where they were kind of chased out of town. They were not popular in Greenwich. They were chased out in 1686 from Greenwich, arrived in Providence in 1696, where the people kind of took pity on them because they had been chased out of their home and everything, and they were weird, but they weren't bad. So the people were like, here's some land for you. Like, Etienne Roulet was like very learned, so they had him, he became like an accountant of some kind, a clerk somewhere in town, and they were, relatively successful members of society, but there were always kind of whispers about them. They were very, very religious and devout in a way that didn't quite seem believable, where they were so religious that everyone was like,
seems like a show.
Seems like a show.
Yeah.
They also talk about Etienne Roulet having all kinds of strange books and stuff in his house that nobody ever looked at because there was just something strange about them. Mm-hmm. And they described, like, at his clerk station, sometimes people would come across him and he would be drawing all of these strange, like, arcane diagrams and everything. So he's just a spooky motherfucker. And everyone's like, we're not sure about him.
He seems like he's too early for this town, because later on this town becomes known in H.P. Lovecraft's work. It becomes known for all of its spooky occult shit.
Yeah.
So, like, Etienne is just, like, a couple decades too early.
Yeah. Or he's part of the reason.
He's the father of the spooky shit.
Yeah. Papa Spooky.
He's Papa Spooky.
Etienne and his wife have a son named Paul. Very little is known of Paul except that he had a short temper and a very unpleasant demeanor.
Paul.
So there's a record in the early 1700s or mid 1700s of when Paul is an adult, and I believe Etienne and his wife are either very old or have both passed away. But Paul does something that causes a riot, and the people of the town attack him and wipe out the Roulet line.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that is. And we don't know what he did.
No.
Jesus.
No, but he was so fucking unpleasant that nobody's like, ooh, but why would it have happened? They're like, yeah, he definitely, they're like, he definitely said something shitty to someone and they snapped. Like, because he was constantly saying shitty things to everyone.
Yeah.
So Paul sucks and he gets murdered. So the narrator is like, okay, so now I found this French connection. I've read about the Roulets. I think I know, like, they are the reason why this house is haunted somehow or is unlucky. So he decides to probe the house.
Okay.
He talks to Carrington Harris and he's like, I want to go into the house. I want to take a closer look at some of the things, especially in the basement.
I want to dig up the floor.
The narrator asks for the key to the street door because that's been locked for forever. He's just been coming in through the main entrance on the first floor on the other side, going down the stairs and everything. But at this point, he's like, this is the part of the house that I need to focus in. So he gets the key to the street level door, and then he locks the door that goes from the main part of the house to the basement so that he's not disturbed. But he's like, I have this key. I can get in and out to the street whenever I need to.
I hope he tested that first.
He did. He's fine.
Okay.
So he goes into the house at night.
Why? For what reason?
Well, see, he spends some time like studying the fungus, and then his uncle is like, well,
you know,
people talk about the witch fires. Why don't you go in at night? So he goes in at night, and he is like he watches the sun go down, and he watches this sort of like very pale glow from all of the fungus in the basement. And he sees again, like he has a memory from when he was a child of seeing the floor kind of breathing spores. And he sees that again. And he's like, okay, so that was not my imagination.
And he's just sitting here breathing it in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They didn't have medicine yet. And he is looking at the floor and he's like, well, that was real. But I feel like someone would have said something if like this shape on the floor in front of the fireplace actually looked like a person. And he's looking at it and he's like, it just looks like a blob. Like I was just being dramatic. I was just being a kid. But as the glow starts to form and it gets darker outside, he is looking at it and he's like, yeah, it's just a blob. It's just a blob. Oh no, I was right. That looks like a person.
Yeah.
Very suddenly, it's like his eyes shift and he's like, no, that's a human form. That is an eerily human form. The humanoid shape next to the fireplace specifically is emitting this like vaporous glowing cloud very gently over the course of the night. Yeah. So the narrator is like, okay, that seems like a good place to start with this. Seems pretty spooky. So he goes to his uncle and he says, you know, we got to figure this out. Like, we got to figure this out once and for all. And his uncle's like, okay, let's do this. Mm-hmm. They decide that they're going to observe the house. They prepare for a sleepover.
Okay.
They get a little camp cot and 2 camp chairs and some scientific equipment, and they haul it all into the basement. They tell Carrington Harris what they're doing, and they settle in. They are planning on being there for a couple of nights because they're like, their thought is whatever this force is, their presence is going to lure it out. And so it might take a couple of days, but they're sure that they're going to see something. So they settle down in the basement. The narrator then talks for a little while, and he's like, now you're probably thinking that we're crazy.
We're not crazy.
We're not crazy.
Yes, we shot each other each 6 times. Like, what did madman tell you why he did it?
He's like, listen, I know that a lot of this sounds crazy. Like, it's like vampires and werewolves and all this kind of like a house that kills people. That sounds crazy. And he's like, but I am at heart a historian and a scientist. And what we have found in the past couple of decades in history and in science is that things that we cannot imagine are true. Mm-hmm. Like things that we would have discounted out of hand as being completely impossible are true. Like, this is around the time of like the discovery of relativity and things like that. Yeah. So he's like, an atom on the other side of the universe is affected by me writing on this page now. So he's like, the idea of relativity and that like time moves differently and everything in different, like, he's like, we're just starting to figure all of this out. So things that there have been stories about for years, there's no reason to say that they are absolutely not true. There's no proof that these things are not possible. Yeah. And it's closed-minded not to at least consider the possibility. And this abundance of evidence would suggest, you know, the most obvious solution, the most obvious conclusion to this is that there is something in the house. So he's like, I'm not saying that it's a vampire. I'm not saying that it's a curse or anything like that, but there's something in the house. And this is the only way I know of to figure it out. Yeah. So he talks about that for a little bit. And then he's like, so we brought 2 devices with us because whatever this force is malicious. It's malevolent. Mm-hmm. The 2 devices that he brought, the first one is called a Crookes tube, which I think is the same kind of thing that they used for old tube TVs, but it like bends radiation kind of. Mm-hmm. So it's like a radiation beam, ether radiation. Yeah. It's his idea is he's like, if this is something like on the scientific plane, if this is some kind of like anomaly in physics that is causing this, or something that is like, you know, related to these ideas that we're just coming across, I think that there's a chance that like using the Crookes tube radiation will destabilize it and will destroy whatever this thing is. We just have to get it out. Yeah. The second device that he brings is a flamethrower.
I think that'd be my first device.
He brings a flamethrower because he's like, okay, but there is like a chance that it's a vampire, so I'm not gonna rely on my laser beam to get rid of him. I'm gonna bring a flamethrower. It's like, you know what? Yeah.
Relatable. Thank you.
Real. So they move into the basement for their experiment. It's dark, but the mold is barely visible, like it almost as though they've like disturbed it or something like that. They stay up very late together, talking and watching and everything. They stay up as late as they can, and then they decide that they're going to take 2-hour shifts of one of them is awake and watching, the other one is asleep.
Yeah.
And they switch off. They leave the door to the street unlocked because they're like, if something happens, we need to get out of here super fast.
Lickety split.
Yeah.
Tell me again, what's the narrator's name?
We don't have the narrator's name.
Okay.
The uncle's name is Elihu Whipple.
Okay. The narrator is H.P. Lovecraft.
Entirely possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have a name in this story. So Elihu Whipple, the narrator's uncle, takes the first shift of sleep. The narrator he talks about, he's like, I was alone at that point because being in a room with someone who's asleep is like being alone.
Yeah.
He's like, and I was, he's like, I was tired and I was like strung out and stressed from being in this space and everything. He sets up one of the camp chairs next to one of the slit windows and looks out at the street and everything. He's just like looking into the room and then looking out at the street and then looking into the room. Yeah. And he starts getting a little bit tired, but he's like, we got to do this right. A little while into his uncle's shift of sleep, his uncle starts to roll around fitfully and mutter in his sleep.
Uh-oh.
And the narrator gets up and like starts to get closer to him to make sure that he's okay. As he gets closer, his uncle's fit becomes more and more severe. His face is like twisting and contorting into 100 different emotions at once, where like in 1 second he'll be angry and in the next second he will look horrified, and then the next one he will look like he is laughing. Just his whole face is like seizing across emotions. He starts to mutter all the while, like his face is still changing and he's muttering a long constant stream, and the narrator recognizes that he is speaking French.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Elihu Whipple. Stop it.
No. He starts mumbling in French, and then he starts like speaking in this like hateful, like scratchy French that just sounds like a curse. And the narrator is like, hey, and he like touches him and wakes him up, and his uncle wakes up with a start, completely covered in sweat.
Yeah.
Eyes wild. And it takes him a second to calm down, and then he explains that he was having a dream. What? In the dream, he was lying in a pit in the ground while strangers stood around the edge of the pit looking down at him.
Ooh, like a grave.
Like a grave. The strangers were furious and they were throwing dirt on top of him, and he had the sensation for the whole dream that he was choking.
Ooh.
They're both like, well, that's fucked up. And the uncle's like, I'm not going to go back to sleep, so why don't you rest and I'll watch?
How about you go to sleep now? You see how you like it.
So the narrator takes the next shift of sleep, and he sleeps fitfully. He has all of these weird like dreams of like things that aren't quite themselves, like different scenes laid over each other, where like people are moving in unison, but they're like sort of overlaid with themselves and talking, like speaking twice at once from like two different, he like a very tripped out fucking weird ass dream.
Yeah.
He wakes up to the sound of a shriek. In the confused moment when he first wakes up, his ears ring with the echo of this shrieking sound that he's just heard. The second thing that he notices when he wakes up is a smell that is so putrid, and he's kind of used to the smell of the basement, and this is like that times like 100.
Yeah.
He's like, suddenly the smell is so bad for him. He rolls over and he looks out into the room, and time slows, and he looks at what he is seeing. And I'm just going to read this little bit. Out of the fungus-ridden earth steamed up a vaporous corpse light, yellow and diseased, which bubbled and lapped to a gigantic height in vague outlines, half human and half monstrous, through which I could see the chimney and fireplace beyond. So this sort of translucent cloud of like twisted features. He describes it as having an insect-like head.
Ew. And
covered all over with wolfish eyes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Biblically accurate.
Wolfman.
Biblically accurate wolfman
ghost.
Fun guy.
Oh, he's just a fun guy.
He's just a fun guy. So these like wolfish yellow eyes cover its entire form, shifting and turning into one another and everything. And it has this head that's sort of at the top. It's kind of like an insect, almost like a star on a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Of just this like mandibled face at the top in like translucency. He sees that this like yellow sickly mist is coming from the earth, and it is sort of trickling up through the chimney and out. The really noticeable thing, though, is that his uncle is inside of this vaporous form.
Uh-oh.
He is writhing, transforming, and decomposing. His whole body is, again, like his face is contorting and twisting so that it's not just different emotions now. It's almost like it's different faces. And his face like flashes 100 different people at once. Some of them are like not human. Some of them the narrator recognizes as having like features of the Harris family.
Yeah.
Some of them are just like these demonic, twisted, grinning faces and everything. And all of these are just flashing across his uncle's face.
Yeah.
His whole body is like crooked and twisting. And the narrator watches as parts of his body start to blacken and decay.
Get him out of that mist.
Yeah. His uncle, seeing him, reaches out towards him, first as though to like have his nephew get him out of the cloud.
Yeah.
But as he reaches out and his face keeps twisting, his fingers elongate and become claws reaching out for the narrator.
Ew.
The face, meanwhile, is just gibbering furiously of just speaking in tongues and like contorting and twisting.
French.
French.
Speaking in tongues or French. It's like, do you want to sleep with me? Do you want to have sex, yes or no? Avec moi.
So the narrator sees this and is totally normal about it. It's totally fine. Don't even worry.
C'est toi.
They have like done drills. They're like, if something really scary happens, we have to be ready.
Yeah.
So he has had his preparation for this, like for something awful happening, just drilled into him.
Yeah.
He leaps up. He grabs the Crook's tube, the like radiation machine.
Oh yeah, I forgot he brought tools.
He brought tools. And he flips it on because he's like, this thing doesn't seem like it would be affected by fire. This seems like some sort of cosmic horror.
Yeah.
So he turns the machine on and he points it at this cloud while his uncle is kind of like melting and reforming inside of it. And he turns it on, and you wouldn't see anything if it was working or if it wasn't working. But he turns it on, it turns on, and nothing happens. So whatever, he realizes that this is not the solution to this. Like, it's just not affecting whatever this cloud is.
Yeah.
He watches as his uncle inside of this form begins to liquefy and melt like tallow.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, well, that didn't work, so fuck this. And he fucking books it out of the basement. He runs out onto the street.
He was possessed by the spirit of self-preserved Smith.
Self-preserved Smith. He looks back behind him as the door swings shut, and he sees his uncle's face for a brief second look like his uncle.
Yeah.
And he, in like the midst of his fear, he's like, I think he was saying goodbye, and I think I said goodbye.
Ooh.
But I don't remember.
Yeah.
He runs out onto the street. It's the middle of the night. The only light is coming from like the thin light of street lamps. It is raining, like a thin, cold rain.
Yeah.
He runs out onto the street. He notices as he walks out that there's almost like a grease trail of this like yellow smoke that follows him out the door and then dissipates. Like as though he had like a snail trail kind of.
Yeah.
Pretty gross.
Pretty gross.
Pretty gross. The narrator, completely dazed and traumatized.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Sure.
Just starts to walk down the street, and he like starts to go home, and then he's like, I can't go home. Like, my uncle's there. My uncle's back at the house.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, well, I'll go to the police. And he like starts walking to the police station. He's like, what are they going to do? And then he just like starts walking down like the waterfront, and he like just completely disassociates, and he walks all night until morning.
Mm-hmm.
When the sun starts to come up, he walks back to the Shunned house, and he opens the door from the street to the basement, which is still swinging a little bit open. He opens the door, and he sees inside that all of this yellow noxious vapor and everything is all gone. The basement looks exactly as it had any other day. Still like same mold and everything. And then the camp cot, 2 camp chairs, he sees his own hat and his uncle's yellowed straw hat sitting on the camp cot, and nothing else. No sign of his uncle, no sign of like the greasy smear or anything, or the gas. It just looks exactly the same as it did the day before. So the narrator goes home and takes a shower. He eats some breakfast, and then he picks up the phone and he places an order. He orders a pickaxe, a spade, a military gas mask, and 6 carboys of sulfuric acid.
Fuck yeah.
To be delivered to the Shunned house first thing the next morning.
Fuck yes.
Yeah. Oh God, I love that as him just being like, okay, well, that was deeply traumatizing. I'm going to take a shower, eat breakfast, and then we're going to fucking handle it.
And then we're going to fucking handle it.
He does retail therapy about it.
Yeah. Ooh, that was such a good ending.
Yeah. Not the ending.
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
Quite.
What?
Not quite.
Could have ended there. That's all I'm saying.
Could have ended there. So he orders all this sulfuric acid and military gas masks and everything. A carboy is like a barrel. At 11 a.m. the next morning, the narrator goes to the house and just starts furiously digging into the floor.
Yeah.
He sets up the 6 carboys of sulfuric acid around sort of the edge of where he's digging.
Yeah.
And he like uncorks them so they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And he puts on the gas mask. He starts to dig, and as he digs into the earth is like a sickly black color.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, there's nothing wholesome about it. It is the black of rot.
Yes.
It's not the black of like healthy black earth. And as he digs into it, he keeps coming across more and more of these layers of like white fungus that's spreading through all of the soil and everything. And as he like drives his shovel into these networks of cilia and everything, not cilia, what is it? Mycelium.
Yes.
As he drives his shovel into these networks of mycelium, it seems to like ooze this like black yellow ichor of just like, yeah, it's just super gross. And he's just like, I'm not going to worry about that because we're doing what we got to do. The soil just seems to ooze as he digs deeper and deeper. He digs a pit that is about 6 feet by 6 feet and then digs down. When he gets to the point that he is in the pit up to his neck, the smell becomes impossibly worse.
Even through the gas mask.
Even through the gas mask. It's like something has been opened.
Yeah.
It's like if you open a coffin or something like that. Like it's that stench of like death and rot has been released from the soil at this point. He keeps digging and his spade hits something softer than earth. Ugh, which is the grossest thing I can imagine. He scrapes away at whatever it is that he's encountered. It has a fishy, glassy surface, a kind of a semi-putrid congealed jelly with suggestions of translucency.
Ew.
Yeah. There was a rift where a part of the substance was folded over. It was the size of almost like a stovepipe. So it was like 2 feet in diameter in some places, but it was like this, whatever this substance was, had been folded over. And it's this like whitish blue, gelatinous, like semi-gelatinous substance. And he keeps digging and digging. And then he takes a step back and he scrambles out of the pit because he has realized what he's looking at. He jumps out of the pit.
Yeah. And
he immediately starts tipping over the carboys into the hole that he has dug, pouring sulfuric acid down into the ground.
Yeah. And
this huge yellow cloud of noxious vapors bursts forth from the earth. The smell of the basement, the smell of the sulfuric acid and everything, just huge, roiling, greasy clouds coming up out of this pit. What he has seen, what he realizes he has seen, is a figure's monstrous elbow.
Oh, that was just the elbow?
That was just the elbow.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, then I wouldn't have just poured all my sulfuric acid just on an elbow.
I mean,
I think I would have kept digging. Now you're just gonna have a one-armed vampire.
That's one of my favorite reveals in any story. It's just something so weird and innocuous about it. Like, it's not like, and then it opened and it was an eyeball. It's like, oh no, that's just the elbow. This is the scale that we're working on. Like,
I wouldn't have wasted all my sulfuric acid.
Well, he pours 4 of the carboys in, and then he passes out from the fumes, and then he comes to again, and he takes the remaining 2 and pours them in. And the whole time that the sulfuric acid is like bubbling through the earth, he pours the remaining 2 in, and it doesn't, like, the effect seems to have stopped. It seems to have burned through everything that is there.
Okay.
People in Providence still talk about the factory waste on that day, where something went wrong, and this noxious vapor cloud just covered the town.
Yeah.
A greenish yellow vapor that surged from seemingly nowhere.
Uh-oh, he accidentally committed an environmental crime.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
The marshlands will never recover.
He's an eco-terrorist. Whoops.
They also talk about nobody really knows what happened at the factory to cause this, like, waste disaster.
Yeah.
But the prevailing theory is that one of the waste pipes broke, but they never found a broken pipe.
Yeah.
But what they think that it's that because at the same time that this cloud erupted over Providence, there was a sound of, like, a screeching and groaning as of twisting metal that, like, coupled with the sound of steam escaping in, like, a high-pitched whistle.
Yeah.
The narrator is the only one who knows what really happened.
Yeah.
And that it had nothing to do with the factory. After he empties the final carboy in and nothing happens, everything has been burned away, the narrator picks up the shovel and fills in the pit. As he does so, he notices that the quality of the earth is different.
Oh.
The dampness was less fetid, and all the strange fungi had withered to a kind of harmless grayish powder, which blew ash-like across the floor. So all of this, like, fungus that was, like, deep set into the floor and into the walls sort of dies and begins to dissipate. He reflects that one of the earth's nethermost terrors had perished forever, and if there be a hell, it had received at last the demon soul of an unhallowed thing. The next spring, he goes back to the house, and he sees outside that the grass is growing green. The small apple trees that had been barren and twisted and empty for so long are finally bearing small, sweet apples. Birds are nesting in their branches, and the house has finally been rented.
Oh.
And
Still wouldn't want it.
it's fine now.
Sure.
It's fine now.
Okay.
So the idea of this story is a cosmic vampire
Yeah.
who gets bigger as he consumes life force.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so big. He's been buried underground. I think he's one of the Roulets. I think that
Paul, probably.
Paul Roulet came from a lineage of... Also, it's worth mentioning that in literature, the delineation between vampires and werewolves is not a straight one.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are, like, sometimes a werewolf is a vampire.
Yeah.
Sometimes vampires can turn into wolves and they're, like, werewolves then and stuff like that. So I think the Roulets are both vampires and werewolves. They're, like, something between the two.
Yeah.
And I think that Paul Roulet... my interpretation of this story is that Paul Roulet was effectively, like, lynched by the people of Providence and thrown in a pit alive and buried, and that the combination of, like, this ancestral
Curse.
evil kind of with just the amount of hatred that he had for these people and for the town. He just started to consume anyone who was in that house. So over the course of all of the years and all of the deaths and all of the energy that he had, like, leached from them, he became so big and so gross.
Yeah. Terrifying. Ooh, that was very good.
Thank you.
That was very good and very spooky.
Thank you.
So the things, we talked about this a little bit after we recorded the first part. I really like the vibes that you get from H.P. Lovecraft. And the stories that we read and decided to tell on this podcast, I do really enjoy, and I don't really mind the preamble as much as I mind it with other authors from a similar time period. Because they all seem to have clues that lead you to the actual point of the story. Whereas I don't think that all authors of this time period or before do that. I think a lot of them are getting paid by the word, and so they describe the grass too much. That being said, I don't really see myself reading a bunch more H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, it's difficult, for sure.
It's difficult to get through. You know, it just is. It doesn't hold my attention the way that I would like it to. I'm just not interested in working so hard for this man.
shit.
Whereas I can see myself working really hard to go back and try to get through Frankenstein because I'm willing to put in the effort for Mary Shelley, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, for this particular man, I think that I've read probably all I've cared to of H.P. Lovecraft, but I did like what I read.
Yeah. As far as Lovecraft, I think it's a lot of his stories are stories that it is good to have read and it is not fun to read.
Yeah.
Where, like I said, like I went through this whole Lovecraft compendium. A lot of the stories are so overwrought that they are completely forgettable. Hot take, Beyond the Mountains of Madness sucks, and I hate it. The Call of Cthulhu sucks, and I hate it. But these stories I really like because they do have a structure, they have a purpose. Like everything kind of is there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
With this one too, thinking back to how it was mentioned in his biography that he was in a better mood and a better place when he was writing The Shunned House. The ending of our two stories really, I think, showcases that. And I think that your story starts kind of at almost the beginning of his career, is what it sounds like, his adult career. Of this had a firm ending and a resolution, and there was hope at the end. The house is sold and things are growing, and we understand that this evil could be defeated. Whereas later on, H.P. Lovecraft became very much like, this is a cosmic horror. It's so much bigger than us. We aren't even significant. Like the point of things like Cthulhu is like, you are an ant. Look how many ants we kill just in our day-to-day life. You know, humans, we don't think twice. We pour things over an anthill, we move on, and there's another anthill. Oh my God. And that's what we are as a society to these cosmic beings, meaning there's no hope. There's absolutely no hope, and there's no defeating it, because it's not like ants are going to get rid of the human race, you know?
Yeah.
And so towards mine, it ends with, hey, I did everything I can do, but now that body isn't going to be cremated probably in time, and maybe I'm next or somebody's next, and I'm going to go crazy if they don't cremate it.
Yeah.
And so you get this like hopelessness that I think you start to see more and more in his, as he delves into like cosmic horrors more. That's what you're getting from H.P. Lovecraft. And I do think that that's why H.P. Lovecraft specifically speaks to a lot of minorities, and why more and more people of color are taking his stories, because I think that a lot of people feel a systemic hopelessness, you know, and this is a really good in to expressing that.
Yeah.
But I'm just not interested in H.P. Lovecraft.
No, that's super fair. I also, when we were talking about this the other night, one of the things that I was saying is that I really like his shorter stories. I told you off the record.
We actually had time to discuss this in between because
Janey got sick.
Because of my horrors.
But I told you about the story of the violinist and everything like that.
Yeah.
And The Color from Space.
Yeah.
And a couple of his other short stories are really fucking cool, and I love them. They're just like horror in ways that horror hasn't happened before that I have come across.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very cool. I think that the longer his stories get and the later in his career you get, the more sort of self-indulgent he becomes, where he's like, I've created this whole mythos. And I was saying it feels kind of like the Marvel movies where they're like, oh, it's the guy, the guy. It's like, this guy's never been introduced. I don't know who the fuck this is, and I don't care. And they're like, it's Bingo. And here he comes, Bingo the Destroyer. It's like, I don't know who that is. Like, you can't make the big dramatic clincher of the story be like, and there's that guy, the guy. It's like, that doesn't work.
I don't have any emotional ties to the guy.
Yeah, I don't know who the guy is. And I do think it's kind of like H.P. Lovecraft.
Weren't buying that even when he was alive, But people are buying it now. I mean, it's not to say that he wasn't successful after he died, because he was.
Yeah, but that to me is, I'm like, I get why people wouldn't want to read that, because it's very much, at that point, it's almost like an identity, like cult of personality thing, where he's like, this is an H.P. Lovecraft story. I think that before he got famous, his stories were cooler, because he wasn't like, this is a part of the H.P. Lovecraft canon. He got a little bit high on his own supply of being like, I'm H.P. Lovecraft. I'm spooky.
So, and we also said this before when off mic. If you want to have these delicious little, like, spooky feelings, watch The Twilight Zone. We could still get that from there. Of course, if you're somebody who's like, I love H.P. Lovecraft, good for you. Honestly, you're definitely you have a better attention.
Constitution.
No, maybe not a constitution, but you're definitely, you don't have as many attention problems as I do, probably. But
a more resilient reader.
but with H.P. Lovecraft, I think that there's two things to be acknowledged. One, that his work had a lasting effect in two very opposite spectrums. One, his work had a lasting effect on horror, science fiction, and also kind of intellectual property, you know, about being able to take inspiration and fill in stories and fan fiction, stuff like that. You can't ignore that. And that's huge. That's genuinely huge in such a positive way. But also he had, on the opposite spectrum, a very negative effect on people in general, on society.
Anyone who wasn't a straight, white,
rich man.
Puritanical man from New England.
Yeah. And he did have a voice, and his voice was used negatively in that sense. And these stories have a lasting effect. It's the reason why you shouldn't, just because it's a sign of the times, doesn't mean that people get off the hook. You know, there's a difference between, oh, grandma is on her racist tirade again. And it's like, oh my God, my grandma. But if grandma is somebody who is able to speak to the public as a whole, then like, fuck you.
Yep.
You know, racists should be made uncomfortable all the time. But there's a difference between people who are in the public circuit and who have the ears of other people. Yeah. Especially impressionable people, especially white men who are growing up and looking to you for their inspiration and how they should be pointing their moral compass, you know?
Yeah.
You have a kind of duty to, if you're not going to be a net positive, to at least be a net neutral, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my thoughts on H.P. Lovecraft, and I don't think I'll be returning.
Yeah, there are a couple of other, The Violinist, The Color from Space.
Max told me The Violinist. It was very interesting. I think that there should one day be a bonus episode of Max just telling that story, because the way you told it was pretty cool.
Dreams in the Witch House was made into a short film as part of like a horror anthology that is one of the scariest things I've ever fucking seen in my life.
And our house is called the Witch House. Is that why, Max?
No. There's also, it's called like the thing in the walls is fine. Yeah. A lot of them are about like old house, scary.
Spooky old house, New England, Providence, Rhode Island. Yeah.
Mysterious sounds in the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very fun.
I'm into it. So anyways, I
take it how you will. We have complicated feelings about H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. H.P. LIKEcraft at best.
H.P. LIKEcraft is really good. Okay, guys. If you have thoughts about H.P. Lovecraft and want to tell us about them, you can go on our Instagram at Sort of the Story, or our TikTok, where I sometimes post little 1-minute visual sound bites, which are very fun with the episodes. You can also email us at sortofthestory@gmail.com, and you can
check out our website, sortofthestory.com.
That's right. And you can join our Patreon, and through the Patreon, you can join our Discord, where we have discussions about these things, where we post memes about these things, and where we just kind of hang out and are friends and we love each other. So all of those things are available in our show notes. And rate and review us, but only if you liked this enough to give us 5 stars. If you're like, actually, this episode was 4 stars, don't bother. You're fine.
If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Don't say a single thing at all, unless what you're saying is mean towards H.P. Lovecraft.
And that's
okay
fine.
With that. But not towards us. We'll cry. Okay. He's dead. He can't cry anymore. Cool. Max.
Janey.
You want to get the hell out of here?
Let's do it.
Okay. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
My first class of the day is first grade, right? And they're always like a mixed bag, because they're fucking huge for I have 32 seats in my classroom that I can reasonably put in, and there are at least 34 first graders in every class that comes to me. Jesus. Which is illegal, except that because I'm a specials teacher, they're ignoring the fact that that's illegal.
Yeah. It's not illegal. It's just
they had to add 2 extra first grade teachers, because they can't do that in classroom anyway. So I'm overrun with first graders. In the class I had today, there's 36 first graders.
Jesus.
And so I'm already like putting random extra chairs around the tables. We're doing the stuff. And all morning, one of these students who just drives me. It's like he spends every Wednesday night thinking, how am I going to drive Ms. Rabidoo crazy today? Check, check, check. And I'm going to try it tomorrow. And then he drives me crazy. He does it. And he seems proud of it, like he practiced. And today, what he decided to do was, every time I gave any instruction, he'd say, okay, mommy. But it wasn't enough that he was saying, okay, mommy, you got it, mommy. Just, it wasn't, again, this is a 7-year-old. It wasn't enough that he was saying, okay, mommy, every time, and the kids were like all giggling. It was that every time he'd say, okay, mommy, he'd get up, face the class, and just start aggressively twerking. It was so I ended up having to take a dojo point from a child for calling me mommy and aggressively twerking at the other kids. I was like, why are you doing this to me? This is the worst. That was my whole morning.
That's awful.
Oh, you don't seem like it's awful.
And so fucking funny.
It does feel a little bit like I'm being punished for something I did. Like it's karma.
Have you read the saga of Bungalow?
No.
Oh, I'm gonna send it to you later.
What is it?
It's this story about this kid and
who twerks.
No, it's this kid who's for like no apparent reason starts calling his house Bungalow, and it catches on, and all the kids in his class are like, "Oh, I can't wait to go Bungalow. Like, can't wait for this day to be over so I can go Bungalow." And all the teachers are like, "Stop calling your house Bungalow." And the kids, like, they just fully adopt this as a phrase.
Yeah.
And then, like, the principal has to be like, no one's allowed to say bungalow in school anymore. And this one kid who started it all was like, you know, everyone kind of stopped. And then, like, he was talking to someone and he accidentally said bungalow.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, that's it, you're out. And he was like, I didn't mean to. And she was like, no, you're done. I'm sick of you. You're going home. And he's like,
been there.
What if instead I went bungalow? And then he was carried out of the school on everyone's shoulders while they cheered, I assume.
You don't know that's how it ends?
I don't know that that's how it, but it's really fucking, what if I go bungalow instead?
Kids are so terrible. Kids are so terrible.
But that's also so fucking funny because it's so, like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just so annoying.
Yeah, it's just annoying. It's not like any of this behavior is, like, harmful in any way, but oh my god, it just gets under your fucking, just your nerves. It just, like, vibrates under there, and they love it. Guys, just so you know, your kids are awful. I love them. But they're so bad. And they don't act that way at home, which is extra frustrating. Because if you're like, hey, your kid called me mommy and then twerked at everyone, they're like, well, what did you do to cause that behavior? And I'm like, why would I
Charles would never.
Why would I have caused that behavior? What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm teaching art. Not once have I ever twerked. Except at home when I do it perfectly for Max.
Ugh, the inverted twerk. It's awful.
It is an inverted twerk.
I hate it so much.
The eye contact is what does it. Max
that's part of what does it, but it's also just really bad just in general. I was a really high-strung kid, and anytime anyone did anything that was annoying, I was like, stop it! Now as an adult, I'm like, that's fucking hilarious.
See, I was not a very high-strung kid. I was a pretty mellow, goofy, quirky kid that was kind of fun, but like real weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good kid. Now as an adult, I'm like, stop it! Everything you do is on fire!
The opposite.
Yeah, we really switched our personalities.
Yeah.
Okay, Max, it's going to be a long episode. You want to fucking get started?
Fuck it.
Let's fuck what? Guys, I gotta go. Bye.